keep this for myself. Okay? I'll keep this plan for myself. We were supposed to have an assembly which should have started at 9, 8 at this time, and we moved into the career event. I'm happy though to see there's so many young people who are here this morning. And of course, we have a number of presenters here who came especially for you youths. We have different professions here. I'm going to just point to the presenters and simply say 1-2 minutes about what they are, what profession they have. And after each presenter state his name, his profession, and a little bit into the field of work that he or she does, then the field will be open to you youths, 2, 4, 6, 8. So how many of you are here? It's your day. Imagine guys are coming from a far, far away to accommodation. We have Mr. Edward Samuel, an engineer coming all the way out of Colorado to talk to you guys. We have Mr. Redden. Without men like these, we never would sing. We hear what happened last night. If that man was on the gong, I know that would happen. You know? So, we have men that could protect our nation, so we want the brethren to grab the opportunity and ask questions. I myself never had this opportunity, even I spent 8 years there in GBSS. I chose a career, and I chose it because of just my liking for the landscape of Grenada. If I knew what I had to do, I would never have left Grenada because I would have thought that I could have never achieved that based on what I had to do when I get out there, unprepared to learn a new language. Still living there today because I was able to equip myself with the knowledge and the background from GBSS that made me fit. And today we are offering you guys, as young as you are, the different profession. Look, I have a sister in here. I went to school in Heinz School. She's a medical doctor, and from what I listened, she's really interested in the health of all young men. If I took her advice, I would look like that this morning. Okay? But I'm afraid doctor, afraid needle, so I don't do anything to go next to a doctor. So I'm far from soon. Afraid of needles. I ain't afraid of doctor, afraid of needles. Big, small, whatever, don't prick me. Okay? I was off prick back school, I look up. Then we have my brethren here, we went to school together. So versatile, so I don't know what Morgan would tell us this morning because he could tell us about everything normal. Okay? We have a sister that just jump in at the lateness of time, but she's very hospitable. So she was able to accommodate us with our hospitality quality. So she'll be dealing with that here this morning, hospitality. And we can't live in Grenada if we don't eat food. And we have to plant what we grow and grow what we eat. And here we have a brethren that will deal with all agriculture has to offer in this country. We have Dorina, Dr. Dorina, they put some handle on it. Dorina will be able to take care of you guys if you want spirituality, you want guidance, you want to know to come from here and rise again. That's Dorina. She will tell you guys a story. And Dorina is a cricketer. Where's that ball you brought, Dorina? Wonderful. So guys, without further ado, this brethren will introduce himself and tell you what he's about. We have, oh God, I forget, look at this brethren hiding in the corner of the because you don't want to see the limelight. You want to steal the show. This one is this brethren here just heard about this morning. We were boasting of the guys from the 60s and the 70s last night. You hear make a whole talk about cricketers, and I know you brothers are the best cricketers today. And now we am presented with a GBSS recorder, the man who has won the most Victor Lodorium positions in GBSS 5 times, I heard. We are the recording Baladams of 3 times, and that we thought a big thing. But no, we have 5 times. Who gonna break that? Who gonna break that? I have to get some grandchildren. I gotta get some grandchildren. The daughters who wanna give me, so I have to make it only, okay? In order to send them to GBSS to achieve those type of heights that GBSS has to offer. And again, saying thank you for, look at the other brethren, he's demonstrating what GBSS can do in these modern times. I've been watching this brethren for more than a year and a half now. Sometimes you guys will know I post him with traffic jam on the lane, tie up the whole of St. George is like my butter the Antantimol, with all the string, cars. I follow this brethren. He reminds me of the places in Grenada when I fall from north and south, east and west, and the most beautiful parish that I love, even I'm not from the St. David, and I guess for the way he shows St. David, he must love St. David as well, because I follow that every time he's on traffic cam, you know. Who else we have? Carl Roberts? Oh yes, so we have Carl Roberts. Carl is an IT man. He's one of our guys that push things like that and make me sweat at times, and he's saying all kind of things that I don't know what Carl talking about. And Carl wonder why people are not registered. So you guys are interested in IT. I still write with pen and paper. You know what I mean? So, question that man about IT. Then we have Mr. Tim Bayer. Where Mr. Tim is? Well, the way I hear Tim man this morning, I know you guys are in for fun. You are in for fun by all means. I was just eavesdropping from afar, and he moved me already, so he must move you in that close connection, that close in arrangement. Oh yeah, man, look at my brethren. Dr. Dylan Timothy Daniel. When he came, when I know him, he had changed his name in those days in the 70s. We used to do all kind of thing like that. He changed his name to Wakamba. Okay? All of we put down African in mine was Okongu. Okay? So things fall apart, you know what I mean? So we have all transformed. Oh yes, Joel. Joel is here. Joel is another young, versatile youth, and he can represent you guys. I'm happy that he joined our chat a year ago or in December, and with his input, he has connected us the past into the present and into the future. And this is a statement that in geology is what we call the LISAC, the main sentence, the main rule, the main principle of geology is past is the key to the present and the future. And as Marley Crum did, don't know your past, don't know your future. Okay? So you guys, you youth, will be able to learn from our mistakes, you'll be able to put yourself in the present situation, and then the focus, the aim, where we're going from here. We have a model that we have created for the mentorship of all the youth at GBSS and Grenada and the whole called GROW. Ms. Thomas? Oh, how could I forget that? Ms. Thomas here.
You were introducing presenters.
Well, now I'm changing the rules. Because we improvise it. But you guys, let me touch my mouth and let you guys move on. But what I will do for the youth, in order to assess your situation in a short space of time, this is what we have, a pre-event questionnaire for students. So I will just give you guys this as you pass it to the youth. Sorry. And pass that to the youth. Anybody have some pens with them? And then after I said we'll be improvising. We come up with a strategy. So the presenters would quickly say what are their fields. I don't want to delve into that. The presenters would say that, and the youth would identify themselves as well and ask questions after the presenters talk about their feelings in a short way. So we want for these brethren there. Which one?
Bring one over here. I'm here. Bring one over here. Yeah. No question in here.
I think they are maybe in between how they were arranged it. So I think they're in between post and pre. Give me some. Oh, yeah. Pre. So we can anybody is there? And to get the ball rolling, to put us all on one page, to be on one page, let's just begin. Dorina will tell us a nice prayer, and then we'll sing one verse of the school song, and we get on to the meat of things. Okay, guys? Are we okay? Are we on the same page?
Yeah.
So,
I can stay right here.
yes, so Zorina, you will give us the prayer this morning and we take it from you.
Let us pray. God, Heavenly Father, we thank you for this morning. We thank you for allowing us to be here. Thank you for the kids who made it possible to come, and we thank you for the presenters and everyone else. God, we ask you that they will learn something, and we also will learn something from this together this year. Bless us all, and guide this proceeding in thy precious name. Amen.
Okay, thanks, Zorina. Thank you very much. And I guess everybody knows the school song. Anybody need a copy of the school song? Oh yes, sorry, Dr. Nixon. It is SJC, our brothers and sisters in this struggle. So we were all part of the NYO, the National Student Council. One year as well? Oh, so enough people want the school song. Keep your copy for future reference.
Carol, here's what I'm thinking. If we don't do the school song, we should be in detention.
Bring one over here. You guys know the school song? I know, but that doesn't mean you know. You see?
So we're gonna just sing the first verse and then the chorus so that we be efficient for time. And who has a nice voice? I think Pastor Paul could start us off.
Study or recreation in classroom or playing field. Let those of each generation respect tradition. The fields of fathers and brothers are beacons marking the way. The torch handed on by others we must keep alive today. The prize to the one who earns it. Let this be a golden rule, and never has its merit. The slacker is for his true.
Thank you very much, brethren. So, we want to begin by simply asking the presenters to identify themselves, say a few words about what their profession involved, the highlight, the downs, and the enjoyment of why they have done that for such a long time that they are here to share their experience with you. And the youth, feel free to ask the presenters questions if there are any that you may have. Okay? So, feel free. Let us start with Jimmy.
We have the list. Why don't we go down the list?
Okay, so you have to listen from the. I suppose
See,
I
that's
will
how
song
Timmy
it.
don't get away from the start and finish.
I want to kickstart Timmy.
Timmy was here.
Timmy was
Oh,
here.
that's it.
I
Yeah.
think number one was defense services.
Timmy
Number
Frank.
one was defense services. Let's go down the list.
Okay, so we fall in protocol, Timmy. Okay, no problem. So, Mr. Reddit, please.
Well, good morning to everyone, and certainly thank you for having me here. Not a GBSS, but EDC side of the house. But I was asked to certainly be here to certainly share my experiences with the youth in terms of helping to shape their careers and certainly looking at the possibilities that exist out there. Obviously, my current hat, or double hat, is I'm the General Manager of the Port Authority and also the Director of Maritime Affairs for Grenada. So I'm double-hatted in that way. And you're probably wondering what a career law enforcement or defense force officer is doing in the port environment. But my career started in the maritime environment. I joined the Coast Guard services at age 20. Qualified in two streams, mechanical engineering and navigation, up to the standard of Master Mariner, so I can certify to drive ships and vessels of particular sizes. And I did that for about 17 years in the Coast Guard. In fact, prior to joining the Coast Guard, I was leaving the country. At the end of the summer, we had coming out of the revolution and the demise of revolution, actually to join the U.S. or the U.S. Air Force, and someone comes from me, why are you going to serve someone else's country? Why don't you contribute to Grenada? So that's why I ended up in the Coast Guard in Grenada. Of course, the Coast Guard in Grenada is not a standalone entity. It is subsumed within the broader RGPF law enforcement umbrella. And it's different from other countries. Other countries have standalone Coast Guards, so you have definitive careers in Coast Guards. Here is different, so you can get transferred out, and that happened to me after being 17 years in the Coast Guard. I was transferred to a desk job at headquarters, looking at the issue of human resource development, operations planning, and a range of other things that happened there in terms of the broader strategic agenda of the police force, how that can move forward. And I did that successfully for a number of years. Over the years, I've acquired improved education, 2 master's degree, one in an MBA, another in defense management studies from both UK universities, and also a number of military designations and qualifications that I also possess. So that is my maritime side of the house in terms of how that panned out in terms of my career. And the RGPF side of the house, if you will, I had stints in the public service as well. I briefly served as the head of the Government Reform Management Unit, where we looked at ministries and how they are chopped up, and suggested ways in how we can make things more efficient in terms of a report. Nothing was done, but then that's Grenada. And I also serve overseas in Barbados as the Director of Maritime Affairs in terms of planning the maritime operations for 7 member countries of the RSS Treaty Organization, and also in Antigua as the head of the Maritime Research Unit and Training College that the RSS runs. So over the years, I've done different things. Certainly, one of the things I try not to be is one-dimensional. So I have a range of expertise that from human resource to strategic planning, to defense and security, to maritime affairs, mechanical engineering, a range of things that I'm competent in with respect to how I end up where I am now as the General Manager of the Port Authority and certainly the Maritime Affairs Director. Career-wise, my advice certainly for young people who want to be involved in either defense or the maritime sector. Within Grenada, certainly the loan institution is RGPF. I'm advising government that we need to relook this. We need to have a different construct that looks at law enforcement proper, but look at the broader strategic issues of the state in terms of the defense and how that can be sustained into the future. So there are possibilities there for career. I heard someone say they're talking about scientists, want to be a scientist, and I think the pathways there is limitless in terms of the forensic issues. criminalistics, you have forensic scientists, you have forensic accountants, a range of different things there that are law enforcement oriented, that you can have a successful career, certainly if you choose to go that pathway in that regard. On the other side of the house, with respect to maritime affairs and things maritime, Grenada has a sea space of 26,000 kilometers, which is significantly more than 130 square miles, which is the territorial base issues that we have. And there are a number of opportunities that are opening up because of the fact that we now have this very intense focus on blue economies. Blue economies, which is the way to go. You're talking about aquaculture, you're talking about pilots, you're talking about surveyors, hydrographers, people who make the charts and do this, a range of different things. So the streams that are there for persons who are interested in things maritime is limitless at this moment. Even in the support services, such as electronics and electronic engineering, a lot of these things now are very high tech. Yachts and the support services that we can provide as a country. I think the opportunities there is limitless with respect to how you can successfully engage that as you go forward in terms of choosing a viable career going forward. I know we often talk about the issue of not focusing on money, but we all need some sustainable compensation to live comfortably. I think the maritime environment can provide that. It can provide in a very significant way. And for me, the issue was not necessarily looking for a job, was following my passion. I have a passion for the sea. So as soon as the opportunity came up for the GM of the Port Authority, I applied, I was successful, and I left, well, on secondment, the post to go across to this new job. So I couldn't shake the maritime itch, if you will, with respect to how that panned out for me successfully. And I think that is one of the issues that I think you can focus on as well, is following that passion. And there are many examples of persons who have followed their passion. If you look at, for example, Allison Heinz. Allison Heinz, everybody knows as a soca artist, but she's also a lawyer. She has a law degree. She did the law degree, but her passion was really music, so she followed that. I have a niece who did psychology at UE. Came back, decided that that's not really what I want to do. What I have the passion to do is cooking. Went back to school, qualified as a chef, has a micro business that is running now, and that is her passion. She likes to cook, you know. So there's a range of different things that you can do, and I think the salient issue for me was following my passion, and it led to where I am now in terms of career pathways and the success that I've enjoyed over the years. So thank you guys, that's my opening salvo. Yeah.
Where your seats found?
Yeah, the PBC seats out, yes.
Which is very important.
Yeah.
Ready for and roots,
Yeah.
way down.
Yeah.
Mr. Redden, I heard you said you had two masters. You did your undergrad.
I don't have an undergrad. I did not have.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. But I had sufficient postgraduate certificates that qualified to go
Together.
Yeah, together.
The thing you say,
On the list. Next on the list is geology. God, somebody had to come.
Yeah, no.
I'm gonna let you two, I'm sorry.
no problem.
You bring all this from Germany?
You done? So, guys. Yes, no, of course, I do.
You don't see it, but I can pick my own.
So,
Oh my gosh.
so geology and geosciences, marine biology, ecology, blue economies is a field that is wide like the Mississippi River. Morgan and I, Timothy, we sat down in the same geography class in Form 6, 6B. My passion for geology was born misinterpret what is better in German than English. You guys recognize that we have some problems speaking English. Not because I don't want to, especially in my field. I did that short in German and also worked in that environment or even other languages. So, but my idea of wanting to study geology arose through the geography club, doing geography as one of the most passionate subjects that I had at GBSS with a passionate teacher like Dr. George Vincent Sparrow. And so my interpretation, my thought about geology with respect to Grenada, with respect to the Caribbean basin where we are, was simply a question of volcanoes. I thought geology was just volcanoes. I love volcanoes, the impressive natures of volcanoes. And 1979, when the revolution triumphed, not long thereafter, Soufriere kicked up in St. Vincent. I knew all the volcanoes around the Caribbean and also those in other areas that are impressive, which form the contrast. Those were questions in our geography A-level exam contrasting the volcanoes in the Hawaii, the volcanoes here in the Caribbean, and they are basically different based on the chemical composition of the material that form these volcanoes. We recognize also the shape of the volcanoes. Here in the Caribbean, we have from the geography book, physical geography, I still remember those small definitions. Those volcanoes, we have a steep-sided, dome-shaped type of volcanoes in contrast to the Hawaii, where they are very flat based on the composition of the magma there. The composition of the magma is high. A lot of silicium dioxide. Silicium dioxide over 65%. We refer to them as acidic. Those that are less, this is why you see these black natures of the rock that you have in your hand, because they're very basic. They are ultra basic. That simply means that they have less or equal to 45% of silicium dioxide. So that this chemical composition would dictate the way the volcano originates and how it evolves. Violent eruption like we had last year in St. Vincent in the Soufriere. I enjoyed that one, even though that is the first time I saw a volcano. From all the theoretical things that I know, but seeing a volcano like Soufriere, it was really a picture book experience to see that volcano with the magma so deep in the earth's crust, oozed up like the blood here, oozing up, and then form this dome. That after it formed that dome on top of the summit, it became so heavy that we saw on the 19th of, was it March or April last year? April, when that volcano decided it can't withstand the pressure, and it went more than 10 kilometers or 20 kilometers in the troposphere, and we saw it didn't fall, the first ash didn't really fall on St. Vincent. Poor Barbados got it, and so because it was dispersed. So those were the thoughts that I had when I left GBSS to go on a scholarship, first going to Cuba to do economics, and then I got a call, no, it's better Gallo, you take on geology. So my route was detoured from Cuba to go to East Germany as the first Canadian student to have ever been there to study geology as such. When I got to Germany, I almost come back home for many different reasons. Temperature, culture, color, food, every single thing. 180 degrees turnaround from leaving here to go there. And also, when I was at GBSS, because I didn't want my father to pay for exams that I thought I may fail, so I only did those GC and A-level subjects that I thought those I must pass. And also, subjects like physics and maths, based on what older boys that they do something hard, and stuff. That intimidated me. I dropped them since in Form 4. Because I said, these are stuff that I would never pass it too hard, never even tried them properly and understood them. When I got to Germany, that was the first thing I confronted. Physics and maths. I said, my God, they want to send me back home and make me fail the revolution. It ain't going to fail because of me. I said, nah. And they gave me tests. Like what we used to do before coming to GBSS, before our era of the 71 when we passed scholarship. Where they what do you call those type of exams? So they test your entrance exam. So they were testing my ability because they didn't accept even my A-level from the Caribbean from Grenada. It was not accepted. So I had to do the exam. And when I saw I saw the math, I know coordinates and all this, but I couldn't work it out because those things, the logbook that we had to cram by heart, that was too much for me at that point in time. So I dropped math. When I then looked at the next side of the sheet, I saw something looking like a snake. That is math, this calculus sign that they had, the integral sign, I call it a snake. I didn't understand one shit about that. I just write the answer to myself, I must be a fool because I just wrote that answer because I didn't understand what that was all about. Quadratic equation, we did that here. But then as we go into differential calculation and stuff like that, my God. But, again, learning together with Timmy, Kelroy Gordon, Toad, and some of the other brethren that we had as groups, automatically I thought that the way for me to overcome this difficulty is to find some Arab guy. They are the ones who discovered math. This guy, he's a guy who walks around the campus just creating his own problems and solving them. And he taught me the ABC of London mathematics, which I never thought I would have ever been able to do. So guys, for geology, geosciences, and all these type of marine sciences that we're thinking about, and I want to relate them to Grenada. I don't want to talk about these big things that I've seen outside. I want to relate that to Grenada. This is why these rocks are here. So the key thing is, that's why you are here this morning. Any subject area that you want to deal with, any field of work, of course the engineers will tell you that the basic math, physics are important. In my field of geology, chemistry, but I was bad because Timmy and I was bad in chemistry. I was able to do a little copying, and they brought me up to scope. So chemistry, I feel comfortable. In my very first exam in Germany, when I walked out the exam room after maybe half an hour, they thought maybe it was the language or something. The invigilator stopped me and said, "You have a problem." They treated me very nice. I said, "No, I finished." And they said, "No, you can't finish yet because the Germans are still working." And we looked at it. It was Form 5 and Form 6 chemistry that we did here long ago. That was the first semester. So yes, it was a walk in the park for me. I breathed through that. So these basics and subjects are very important for any of the fields that we want to do. I was thinking of doing medicine, so this is why I did biology and stuff like that. But then I recognized that, I'm afraid of these instruments and the infrastructure hospital, so that's why I diverse into geology and stuff like that. So being a geologist in Germany, after qualifying, it took me about a year to really get first. Before that, it's 9 months, I would say, to be honest, to learn the German language from scratch, from not knowing any word in German than just a few from the comic books that we used to read. Herr Himmler, Herr Hitler, Guten Morgen, Donnerwetter und Blitzen. These were things we had in the comic books. And I learned German in a very short space of time because I think I got an aptitude to learning foreign languages, so that wasn't a problem. Then after mastering these areas of the sciences and get into geology itself, it took me 5 years to do my master's. We call them diploma. Not a diploma, because German word that it would be mistaken if I bring that certificate here. You think that diploma, it's all that diploma is equal to a master's of science, and from there you go into PhD courses and stuff like that. I didn't have no intention of doing a PhD. It was the whole question of the political situation in Grenada dictated to the German that I couldn't come back to Grenada in that period. So I had one mentor who mentored me from day one. And after the invasion of Grenada, the whole scene that went on in the trade, he adopted me like his son, because he had a son my age who didn't want to follow his footsteps as a geologist and stuff like that. His son disappeared and went to different story, not going to. So, after those years of studying geology and intensity, I happened to study at the oldest mining university in the world, where geosciences and the whole question was defined about mining and all the subsidiary areas of mining at the Technical University, Berg Academy, Freiburg, the only university in the world that has its own mine that we dig for silver, gold, and all the different ores that you think about. The mountain where I live is called the Ore Mountain. You Google that and you see that area of Germany, Czechoslovakia, Czech Republic, into Poland, where that mountain range is really expanding. And there we find one of the most important minerals, one of the most important elements that is responsible for maybe what is going on today between Russia and Ukraine and the Ukraine, because in the whole of the Eastern Bloc countries, we were mining for uranium, and we know what is the end product of uranium, and that is why Russia has the most amount of warheads from that area, because we mined all that you could think about in uranium in that zone where I came from, or where I studied it, or worked it. So, it simply means that after finishing that massive exploitation of those types of raw materials, then came the unification of Germany, then came the fall of the Berlin Wall, the fall of the whole of the communist system. And so we again, as the Russian company that was doing all that type of exploitation, we knew or know where these things were mined, and they were not mined to some extent in that period environmentally friendly. So then, as a result of this, we had to clean up the area again. So besides mining underground, besides taking every raw material that you can see inside, everything comes from the earth. Anything you see around you, anything you have on you, is come from the earth. So it's like geology is so important. And these rocks that you brethren are having here, you see how heavy it is? This is called a basalt bomb. And you see those big black macro rocks you see all around Grenada? Those fat heavy rocks that you see around in the riverbed? This will simply show the evolution of Grenada. First, from those carbonates you have here, those shells that you have here, like this here. This one especially, these are all found in the marine environment. This is what these are the rifts, and when they disintegrate, you get a nice granite sand and our nice black sand up in Black Bay. So we have different types of sand around the country based on the material that leads to the formation. And these are the type of rocks tell us the nature. So look at our terrain of it like this, that, and this, that. So that's why geology is important. First in Grenada. We are a young island. And we see what is happening construction around the country. We see the coastal erosion taking place around the country. We're not getting bigger. So as a result of this, I would like young people to understand that this is a field. I think I might be the only geologist in Grenada at this point in time, where it's a subject area that I will encourage each and every youth here to maybe want to pursue if you understand what's all about. So geology is a question of understanding the processes that take place inside of the earth that leads to the formation of rock, as well as the processes that take place externally on the surface of the earth, the external forces that you're taught at school, weathering, the different type of weathering, mechanical, chemical, and the different agents that causes the different weathering conditions and erosion, etc. So as a Grenadian, brethren and sisters, it is important to understand the different type of rocks that we have around the country and what are the significance of these rocks, and what is important is to understand the chemistry of these rocks. So chemistry is a very important subject matter. Then we have to think about, in the construction industry, we are looking for basement. We are looking for solid foundation. Some of us building houses in situation where the foundation is not solid enough. There's a lot of cost factors involved to really find the right foundation. And my job, why I came back to Grenada, was for two things: to deal with the oil and gas that we have offshore, and to also deal with why we are here. We don't want to exploit the oil and gas because those are environmental issues. Those are climatic change problematic. When we take out the oil and gas, the fossil fuel from where they are, and we are blessed under our foot right here under this earth. And but we have the hot spot in the mountain Catherine area, about 6 hotspots that we identified where you can find geothermal energy. And we're talking energy in Grenada. We're talking renewable energy. We are talking about a raw material which is below our feet. We don't have to import from Trinidad. We don't have to import from Venezuela. We just got to get some skill sets, find it where it is, pump it up, put it in, like we see what Grenada is doing with the turning a turbine. It's a similar process. It depends on what or how the material that we are going to find there. Is it liquid? Is it a gas? Is it a vapor? What the level of concentration, impurities in all of these resources, and we turn that turbine, and this is Grenada's oil. And the vision that I had, and we had a couple of years ago, the Grenada vision is by 2020 would have gone, 2030 we prolong it, that we'll have 70% of our energy from geothermal energy, 20% we can get from solar. We can also get the same 20 or more percent from wind. Then that basin perseverance, we have, if we do it right, we have 3.5 megawatts of energy that we can get from the perseverance dump site. And we can get different energy resources from our thermal or even the, what you call that, the tidal influence. Many different sources of energy we have in Grenada at this point in time. And so I need, or we need, you can do it, and we make the leader free, and this will matter. Okay? So guys, geology, marine biology, ecology, all of these are tied into one situation, and the key is the sciences and other geologists being physically fit. And this is what GBSS taught us with the sport, because you go up mountain, down mountain, across valley, and if you have other skills in this modern time, flying a helicopter, flying drones, doing all these type of modern technologies, satellites is very important at this point in time, so we do not have to dig too deep. We get our satellite images, and we can interpret from what we see and know that in the earth there is this here, there is that here, because we get some reflections, different type of operations, etc. And guys, all of these were made in GBSS. And I'll tell you, the economics of it, which I learned from DJ, running the talk shop, how to run economics well. This is one thing I learned from a student. I learned from DJ, how to manage finances and how to run things like that. And here we have a brethren like DJ, who is again with the presenter. Guys, don't let me go on because it is just too much to talk about.
In the interest of time, let's go ahead with the engineers.
So the engineers, we have different engineers. Who are the engineers that we gave out for everyone is here? We have Mr. Bayan.
Everyone look at it from the US standpoint, and the other brothers can look at it
from the Grenadian standpoint. So let me go with Mr. Timbai. Please.
Good morning again, everyone. And I will just jump right into it. I have been trained in Jamaica. I went to the College of, as the first Grenadian who went to the College of Arts, Science and Technology. But let me jump right into it in terms of construction and construction technology. Do you realize that your body, your frame, right, is almost equivalent to a building?
You mean what? You talk about my size?
You have different sizes of buildings. Right. Your frame, think of your skeleton, right? Your bone structure. Bone connected to bone. Your neck bone to your collarbone, your collarbone to your breastbone, your bone going down. Right? And all your bones are connected. Right? Compare that to a building. Right? The bones is your structure. The building, the columns are important. Columns, stiffeners, beams. Those are the structure of a building. Look at this building. You have the columns and you have beams and so on. Right? So that is the structure, and you can compare it. Now, you also have your footing. Your foot is where you stand on. Buildings have footing. And if you put your foot in the wrong place, you will see. Now, take for example, if you are able to stand outside in the grass for a period of time, right? You'll notice that you leave a footprint, right? And that footprint is equivalent to the weight of your body. For the building to stand up, the building has to have anchorage. It has to go, usually the calculation is like if you're going like 10 foot high, you go a third in the ground, right? Depends on the soil conditions, if you're rocky and so on. If in sandy situations, you do a different kind of construction, which is like a raft, like a floating, right? But let's look at the structure, the skeleton of the human body. The skeleton of a building consists of columns, beams, footing. And all of that is connected, just like your body. It's connected to each other. The footing is connected to the columns to the beams, and so on. Right? So that is the structure. The flesh of the building, what it is? The blocks. That is not structure. The blocks that fill in the spaces is not structure. So that is considered, because that alone can't stand by itself. It must be tied into the framework. So just as your flesh is tied in somehow with muscles and so on, and the muscles can be the steel, the reinforcement in the building. Right? Right, DJ? Yeah? So, when you have that, so you have your structure, your beams are tied, the whole structure together. Now, there's one instance after a lady was building a house, she painted up and everything, and she said she was having some problems with the contractor. There was a beam, floor slab, just try to imagine, beam, floor slab on the beam, another beam coming and stopping short. And I said to the woman, I said, get out of the house right now. Because you don't know when. It could stay for another day, it could stay another 2 years, but one day. Because what that kind of construction is doing is the flesh is being made to stand by itself. You need to have that connection. Beam must connect to beam. And then you have the filling. So the walls, the block walls is like flesh. Right? Taking it a little further. When you render the building, like your skin protects you from the elements. When you put sand and cement together and you render the building, you're protecting the building from the elements. Right? So it's closely related. Taking it further. Paint. Again, it's like your clothes. You can change your paint. You put on a new shirt, you can put on a new coat of paint. Right? So you see how Okay, let's take it further. You wear a hat. That's a roof. And if your hat is not fitted properly, when the wind comes, it will blow up. And it's the same thing when you put a roof on a building, it must be tied to the structure. You have it tied when you go out in the picket field and you tie up and you make sure that the wind don't blow that hat. Except Brother Rasta here, enough here to hold it up. So the whole thing, the whole building experience can be related, right, to the body. And let's take it further. You have energy. What is the energy in a building? What is the energy? The electricity, like veins and water. So the building has to have services, right? So you take in food, you consume the food, but then the food is digested and goes out into the sewer. Now the building has facilities that you use and it goes out into the sewer or well or whatever it is. So almost the same function, right? Security, or anything in building. Security is what? Your eyes. Your eyes. You see. The building has lights. And in these days you have these new technology, smart lights, you can, attach the computer. So it's coming back again. Your eyes attach to the brain, and it gives you the intelligence of what is happening. So it's the same thing here with the building. You have these type of lights that can read what is happening outside, and you can pick it up on your phone or your computer. That's the age we're in. So almost anything that we do in building, in my opinion, can be related to the human body experiences. Right? So feel free to ask any questions. Even if you digest food and it goes out into the sewer, it happens in the building too. Right? You flush, it goes out. So my brother here said he wants to be a plumber. That's a very important career. Because if the plumbing stop up, nothing happening. Hey, brother? When you think your bottom car, you have to go see that. Right? So, this is how I believe if you are interested in a building career, it is easily related, right, to your human structure. Right? Easily related to the human. Your bones must be connected. You have the flesh, which are the blocks. You have the skin, which is the rendering. You have the painting, which is clothes on. You have the hat, which is your roof, protect you from the elements. And if it's not properly tied down, it will blow. And a number of other things. Right? So, that's me. Thank you.
Feel free to ask questions, guys. Thank you, Mr. Bayer. I think you explained it, so you emphasized that so vividly that
Well,
all of
after
us
this,
got it.
everybody wants to be an engineer now.
I do support that. I support that fact. Engineers are the guys that we need. So on the list here of engineers, is the Mr. Jason Williams here? So Mr. Williams, you give your part, please.
Good morning, everyone. This part of before I did my disclaimer, the two disclaimers, I went to PVC. I'm a PVC worldwide. Also, geology was my first love. So in 1999, when I passed common entry, then I know this is good. We used to take photos of the top performers and plaster it in front of these people and ask questions. The first question the photo asked me, the journalist, what do you want to be when I become like get older? I told a geologist. I still have a love for geology, but all things worked out. I ended up going to write a civil engineering, but I still hold geology close to my heart. That was my first love. Now, I think I'm probably the youngest, or in terms of age gap, the closest person to you guys here, although I look a bit older. I would not try to do better than that analogy just before in terms of civil engineering and how the building structure is. I think it was brilliantly done. Now what I'm going to try and do, I'm going to try and paint you, try and explain to you the pathways that you can take and how you can go from where you are now into the field of civil engineering. As it stands, I'm a civil engineer by profession. My engineering title and description right now is a project engineer for the Rural Development Unit. That is, I oversee civil works done by the Basic Needs Trust Fund. So all those projects done by the NTF and also for SIRE. Previously, I've worked as an engineer for means construction and engineering for about 5 years. Hence the reason why I'm here. Engineer Carl Lee would have approached me and said we feel so good and hence I'm here. But besides that, throughout my schooling, I've also been taught by multiple old boys of GBSS. So at secondary school level, primary school level, up to university, Dr. Allison Peters, I'm sure everyone will have heard of Dr. Allison Peters, was one of my best lecturers at uni. Since so, and I feel that when you're called upon, it's not about whether they went to this school versus that school, but as young men and what is happening in Grenada, I think that it is best, no matter what school I went to or what school I had allegiance to, that I come and I give my experience and share my thoughts with you, and also to young ladies also. Now, as we start, I'm not too sure what grade or what form you're in right now, but the common theme would have been repeated over and over in terms of the necessary piece of areas that we need to undertake. That is, those are mathematics and physics. Now, yes, that is true. However, mention also chemistry is very important. However, there are 5 traditional fields of engineering, civil being the oldest one of them. However, things have changed, we have progressed. We've seen civilization, where we're at right now. I don't think anyone 200 years ago would have pictured us being in this position. For example, when you left home this morning, I'm certain 9 out of 10 things that you have done or taken part with had to do with a civil engineer had some input in it. There's the plumbing, there's with the water, wood waste and potable water, the road infrastructure, the building or reset, the vehicle, the buses. Yeah, the civil engineers will also work in automotive industry in terms of giving guidance and structural engineers for chassis, etc. So I can guarantee that 9 to 10 things they're the civil engineers. So the field of civil engineering and also engineering as a whole is growing, and some people might say it's cluttered, it's full. I do not believe so. I believe we need engineers. Now, at the secondary level, this is important not only to go the route of just fully academic, maths, physics, science, etc., but also you need to look at other technical, non-traditional areas that also come in handy. For example, now we have a building technology program. You have the technical drawing, right? Also, you need to look at other things, the IT. Now, when I started university, I thought, why do I need economics? But I have to do economics as an engineer. So these are fields that you need to keep in mind. And also, the traditional roles you see of engineers in Grenada is usually as a project engineer, site engineer. You might want to be a contractor, right? However, the field of engineering is vast. I'm just going to probably explain that. We need more engineers in research and design. We need a lot more groundbreaking. I mean, yes, we've been using such materials for the hundreds of years, but we need that input from young engineers going forward. So when you finish your secondary school and you want to become CC, it's important that you stick to your field, you try and do your A-levels within a particular pathway that you want to go into. So now you want to do biomedical engineering. So therefore you might not need to do, you might need to include biology within that particular pathway that you want to go into, right? And then when you finish your tertiary, that is at CC, you look for what opportunities you have in terms of going forward to do your advanced degree in engineering. Now, gone are the days we saw they just say, well, do civil engineering, do this, etc. However, if you notice the common themes that we have these days, you have the economy, you you have climate change, you talk about sustainability. So going forward, when that time comes for you, you need to look into the future and peek and look at programs that can offer you these particular streamlines. So not just jump to an engineering program, but you need to incorporate these things. Innovation is also a major thematic area that we need engineers in. And I think that once you look into those areas, everything is good. For example, I love coastal engineering, right? And we need all coastal engineers in Grenada. Now, that is my next step. My next step is sometime, probably next step is to go to work up do my master's in coastal engineering. Now, I've done training in coastal engineering at Barbados. I've also done multiple training in terms of disaster risk management in Cuba, in China, etc. And that's good to say that once you finish and you have a degree, you just cannot stop. It's not stagnant. You need to always continuously keep upgrading yourself and keep learning. So, in the interest of time, I think I'll stop here. And the reason why I choose to go that route is because my first profession is a teacher. So hence I stuck to the educational aspect. I'm not fully involved in engineering, so I need to have a better appreciation as to what you're required to do in school and after school. And also, just before end, when you finish, you need to avoid certain pitfalls. As I do these days, you have a lot of distractions. Social media, you have bad company, you have good company. And at the end of the day, it's up to you and it's up to your task. If you know you have a particular task, a particular goal that you need to achieve, you need to stick to. We're not saying to be fully engulfed in books and forget about anything else. You have to mix and you have to play, right? So it's important that you keep your head on your head and you know exactly what you want to do, what you're set to do, and you do it, but in everything else you need some moderation. And I think that's the most important thing for you these days. You cannot go into, well, keep it to 14 subjects now. Everything is moderation. You enjoy yourself in school, you enjoy your school days, you enjoy university, and you just remember how to know what you came to do and you stick to it. So thank you very much, everyone.
Well, I guess we have heard it all about engineering, but we still have one of our international engineers who made GBSS, Brethren Edward Samuel, who is coming out of Colorado, just received recently biggest prize you could ever get for engineering, the Martin Luther Jr. Prize in America. So we got some kudos to the program. And also, some of the people out there, they took part in an essay competition last year that Mr. Samuel sponsored for GBSS. And giving back to GBSS from Mr. Samuel. So everyone, Lumi, that's your time.
All right. Well, thanks for coming, everyone. So, without engineers, the world stops. You probably noticed that theme as the folks were speaking. Now, I wanted to understand, folks, that everyone who speaks and represents an industry or profession here, they're all very, very important. All those professions, they're very important. So it's not one better than the next. So, I went to school here, 73 to 80, and was focused more on the science side, although I did other areas. Went on, did bachelor's at university, master's in engineering, also an MBA. Then I worked for international companies in engineering. I worked practically on every continent. Did the engineering, did the design, went out, and did the construction management. In 1996, Claudia and I started Samuel Engineering. So I just want to make sure I don't forget. So I see at least a couple ladies in here. And I'm not sure how it is today, but when we were going to school, it was believed that only the guys could really excel in the science and maths and so on. That's a myth. That's a myth. Actually, there's 6 of us in my household, and my wife Claudia is an engineer, master's degree also, and 2 of my children, 2 girls, 2 of my girls are engineers, working in an engineering company. So, Anybody tell you that, oh, boys gotta be above, they haven't seen what you guys can do. Don't buy into that. And I want to say another thing to the ladies. It's a little bit of a levity thing. This person went for an interview, and a lady, she went for an interview, and they said, the interviewer said, well, we're looking for someone to do the job of 2 men. And then she said, oh, so it's a half-time job then. Right? So don't let anybody diminish you. Okay. So what we do at our company is, I describe it as we provide solutions that are necessary for the maintenance and continuation of modern life. So anything you see around, it has some sort of an engineering in it. Right? Dr. Nurse spoke about geology and so on, and mining. The bottom line is, if it cannot be grown, it has to be mined. Right? And then, in the natural form, much of it is not usable, so it has to be processed. So, what engineers do, we talk about the science, the math, and all these things. What engineers do is, you have scientists study what is, and that's very important. They research, they find out things, Einstein and all, Newton and all these guys. So science study what is, engineers create what has never been. So if you look around your cars, your house, anything, there's an engineer. If it's done properly, there's an engineer behind it. And I like to look at it, I tell our clients very unbashfully in front that we're in the business of excellence and compassion. That's our core values. And we are there to emulate the greatest engineer, the ultimate engineer, who's God. Right? So if you look at the whole universe and how it operates, it's just amazing. So you will have to have the different a good foundation in the sciences and math and so on. And as Dr. Nose pointed out, even if you don't think you're strong in it, maybe it's because you haven't really delved into it and somebody scared you about the math or the science, right? Like we saw how he was scared of it in GBSS, but then he went and mastered it over there, right? So at our company, we have about 400 permanent staff engineers. And then on construction management side, we might go up to 4,000 or 5,000 at a time in the field. So let's take let's just start with oil and gas. So you pump a hole in the ground, simplify it. Oil and gas comes out, but it's not in a pure form. So it has to be refined before you could get propane. You know, you guys go buy the bottles of propane to use at home, right? So what we do is, a client will come to us with a blank sheet of paper. He's got a normal square miles of land and leases, and you want to convert that into an economic venture. We take it from there. That blank sheet of paper. So for chemical engineers and our metallurgical engineers, they come in and they do their modeling, the thermal analysis. Once they are finished, the mechanical engineers come in and they specify the equipment that's required. The compressors, the mills, the pumps. Then the electrical engineers come in and they do the electrical design for these heavy industrial plants. Then after they are in, you have the structural engineers, like my friend here was speaking of, civil structural engineers that are doing all the analysis, site grading and drainage, and then the superstructure above. And we take them all the way, and when it's finished, we take it, and so what you have is, we will take that dirty oil and gas that is coming in, and we'll send it through different processes, thermal and chemical and other processes, pressure processes. And out of it is dirty product that is coming in, what we end up with is methane, which is used in the US and other places in the home. We have pentane and different things. Some of it go out from the plant on trucks, some of it go out on pipelines, go hundreds of miles. And we do this all over the world. Then let's just take mining. So we have base and precious metals. Some of you may have on gold or silver. That's precious metals. And then you have copper that's used, all over in the house and have different uses in electricity and so on. We design the plants that are required to process these different materials. Let's take, there's a project we just launched in California. There's a geothermal, it's called a ring of fire. And it's one of the largest geothermal facilities in the world, or resource. So you send titanium pipes way down about half a mile. And out of the heat comes up and about 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit it comes up. We take that and we bring it through different processes, we flash it, and we create steam and we create electricity. Now this project we embarked on, we used to take the steam and put it back down into the ground at about 600 degrees. Right? So it came up about 2,500, we're back down to 600. What we're doing now is we found that, metallurgists found that there's lithium in there. Now lithium, everybody has a cell phone. It has lithium in there. And it just goes on and on for electric vehicles. So we call those energy transition metals or minerals. So we are taking, instead of sending it back down into the ground, we are doing the analysis. And we are taking it and putting it into a process plant. It's about so we just got the estimate, finished the estimate last week. It's about $1 billion project to extract the lithium. But lithium now is like white gold, right? So GM and Ford and all those companies are coming to us to provide this solution. There is power generation. One of the areas I was just reviewing a contract yesterday for, you guys hear about Bitcoin, right, and all of that? We have data mining and so on. So a client came to us again with a blank sheet and he says, they just purchased about 110 square miles of land in Arizona. And they want to put the Bitcoins there. And one thing about Bitcoin is they consume a lot of power to process it, right? A lot of power. So they asked us to come up with a method of not connecting to the grid. So we're using solar and a special way of cooling to power this Bitcoin so that it's environmentally friendly. So I could go on and on in terms of the different things we are doing. But engineering is necessary for modern life. And any of you who like providing solutions, if you like a challenge, especially if it involves math and science, engineering is a great field for you. And many engineers, some engineers don't stay as engineers doing calculations and simulation engineering. As the good gentleman pointed out, you could be project managers, project engineers, schedulers, project controls, construction managers, and on and on. Right? So it's a very broad field, and it really doesn't exclude anyone. It's a function of your interest. So I will stop there, and I will let questions come later and give time for others, but I'll be willing to hear from you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Samuel. Thank you very much, Sam.
One thing I want people to know, this guy here is one of GBSS best cyclists. I think coming from that, you're probably fixing all those bicycles and so on. But he was one of the best.
No, but you make a point here is that
Yeah.
is I was always interested in fixing stuff and how things work, right? So if you have that kind of mind, and again, ladies, don't exclude yourself. If you have that kind of mind, it could trigger you into that curiosity, could trigger you into the profession, right? And another advantage I found is that coming from a place like Grenada, where you didn't have much resources, you couldn't just go run somewhere and buy a gadget or buy something, you had to make stuff. I'm assuming you guys still make tops and kites and all those things, right? That third world experience combined with a first world education is powerful, it's amazing. And I see it many times. I'm conducting massive meetings with billionaires and so on, and I come up with solutions and so on. And I credit that back to running around barefoot, coming up with solutions right in Grenada before I had the education.
Amen.
There is a question for Zumi from Mr. Dubise.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
Alright, Kenneth Dubise, Vice Principal here at GBSS. Just let me underscore the importance of this. And do not, I mean, we were and think they groundwork for a lot more students. But the delivery here for the students who are present here is very important. And this must not, I think, be seen as a one-off something. This is important, right? And I'm really happy with all the presence of all of you in terms of alumni and this initiative. This is something that as a past student, I wish I had. It would have guided me better, or probably healthier in terms of this certain decision making. And being here, I crave that for the boys, right? They need this. Right, so I am saying this to lay, to provoke thought for this to continue and to blossom into what you intended to. Right, this is just for me, I think, the trigger. Right, my question, and I think it's important for our students to understand that the engineering, the geology, and so can be applied in greater states, in the wider world, but also it's relevant, really relevant here. There's a situation that growing up from the Grenada area, I always wondered about the movement of the land. For those of you who know the Captain Harris area, the the Stones, Grey Stone area, stretch, Fall Edge area. There's significant movement of land there, to the point that I think, I don't know what sort of research would have been done that permitted Star Mart to be placed there at a certain point, and they had to abandon that initiative even after a lot of money was spent and so forth, because of the movement and the danger of tanks possibly exploding and so forth. So, and it can be shared, engineering, geologists, in terms of the input that is necessary in looking at perhaps strategic planning for these things, because there are certain spots in our island where the movement of the earth is significant, but there's a lot of building that is permitted there. I think one of the elephants before us is Molyneux situation. So for our boys, and perhaps there might be among them who's living in that area and understand that, even maybe living in a house that their parents have built and is suffering from cracks and so forth. So if there can be, maybe just speak to that as to what might need to have happened in locally to help guide certain decision making in terms of planning, construction of certain things, and so how important that is.
Thank you, Mr. Dubise, for your input. Thank you very much, guys. Just a question or request. There might be presenters who may have to exit, so I would like to accommodate them as quick as I can so that we get those who...
I'm one such person.
So I feel the signal, so I will try to be expedient in doing that. And I'm not too sure with the transmission from JC, how long again he can stay. But I don't want to tell anybody to be short or long. We see the situation. Let's just be operative enough, even though I'm the culprit of talking too long. This is always normal, but so you excuse me, I'm not part of that situation. Okay, guys. So we heard the engineers and the overlapping between engineers, and as everyone mentioned about geothermal, it really made me feel shaky, because I thought we could work together for Grenada and do the right thing for Grenada. So let us, we could be coming to the brethren who have signalized that we have to leave soon. So we talk engineers, and we have to feed engineers as well so that they could be healthy to do what they have to do. So okay, we have the doc who have a patient. So would you allow me, agriculturist, let the doc take the preferred ladies first now? So now has to leave. Dr. Nixon has to leave because she has patients lining up in the mall for her.
I wish.
So we are going into the area of healthcare, medicine, and we let Dr. Sonia Nixon take over this for now. Then we come back to agriculture, which is all tidy. There's too many important fields here at the moment. So Dr. Nixon.
Good midday, everyone. My name is Sonia Nixon, and I'm really grateful to the GBSS posse for inviting me, because at the end of the day, we're all one people. And I listened to you talk, and I listened to him, I listened to the other engineer, Jason, speak. Guess what? There was a climate conference here 2.5 years ago, 3 years. And one of the things was about climate and health. So, you kind of wonder if rain fall too much, what's going to happen? You just have floods. You're going to have people who have access to medications. So, is climate change, how does it apply to our health and our well-being? The truth is, we're just one world. There's really no need to separate ourselves from each other. We all in this together. When we drown, we all drown. When we swim, so you guys better build good houses and nice road and figure out what the soil is about, and make sure there's food and eat, okay? The truth is, medicine is probably, I see medicine as the most fragile of careers, because it takes into consideration whether people feel they will survive or not. No. So, I saw Raymond on Friday, who had a stroke in his hand and never tell me. And on Sunday, he's telling me that he's in the hospital, and I'm flabbergasted. Okay? So sometimes people don't understand the importance of being seen, even when you think it's not. But as a healthcare provider, you have to be able to figure out what is important and what is not. Above all, everybody said they want to do medicine. Oh, I want to be a doctor. Why? Because I want to help people. I help people cook nice food in the cafeteria. I'm serious. You want to help people? Drive good on the road. You want to help people? Make nice clothes. There are lots of ways we can help people. When you want to help people survive, it takes a lot of heart and soul. I always tell people, medicine is a career. Medicine and healthcare is a career of love. If you don't like people, do not go to medical school. Don't be a nurse, because you guys have all had the experience how the nurse terrible. I'm not talking about being afraid of injection. I'm talking about approaching, understanding, empathy, love, care. Put in yourself, empathy. The most important characteristic for doing medicine. Identify where you can make people live well and live long because they are healthy. That is what my opinion of being a healthcare provider is. Right? Yeah, you need to know some maths and a lot of biology and a lot of chemistry and all the rest of it. Well, I don't even remove an alkene from an alkene. The bottom line is that I know that I have applied myself. At 4 years old, my grandfather looked at me. He was a very tall man, but when you're 4 years old, everybody taller. And my grandfather said, you are going to be a doctor. And I didn't remember that until I got into medical school. My grandfather died a year after I entered medical school. I remember I bawled the day I finished my final exam. All right? Figure out what is your vocation, the application of your talents for the betterment of mankind. And luckily, people who in healthcare have the greatest ability to practice that every day. So if you don't like children, don't do pediatrics. If you don't like crazy people, don't do psychiatry.
That's right.
Okay? If you don't like people, don't do medicine. Go and learn to drive car, go and fix bridge. I'm serious.
But I do like people.
I'm serious. I'm saying, if that's what you like, figure out. Don't go and do medicine because your mother says. If your mother wants to do medicine, that's okay. Right? Please do what you're doing as a medical career because you really want to understand and you really intend to put yourself out. In medicine, you have to go out at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I know a lot of people who don't want to do it because I just, twice after midnight, and you're called out again. It is one of the things you have to want to do. I remember driving down Barnett Street in Monterey one morning at 3 o'clock, and you're never going to imagine what this guy was saying. Just look at me, it's 2:45, and I started bawling in my car. I'd actually been out of my house 3 times already, taking call at night. On top of the fact, I was so sleepy, I put on my shirt wrong side. But the point is, if you're going to do this, it must come from your heart. You'll probably make some money while you're doing it, but if that's a driver, you're in the wrong profession. Because it has to do with people who are in crisis, people who want to be well known. Even they being ill, one reason why they come is because they see Lacroix standing outside with his gurney. The truth is, medicine is a career of soft skills. Alright? Yes, you have to study. I remember for all of us, just in case, don't worry to all my friends, the truth is after 30 years of medicine, you realize what the hell am I doing here? But you can't go because your mother's going to kill you. That's why we stayed on. Because our parents are going to kill us. Because a lot of us went because our parents wanted us to do it. But you have to know, you have to want to know, I want to be a doctor, or a nurse, or physiotherapist, or whatever it is. Because it's going to call for being on duty. So instead of being ravaging on the street on Carnival Tuesday, you have to be in the ER because somebody's having an ectopic pregnancy and you have to do surgery. Or a baby's having a seizure and you have to be on duty in pediatrics. That's what it is the ultimate sacrifice. And people forget. And you're not going to be a doctor to show up. Everybody's going to say, oh, Dr. X, Dr. No, please. You know that you have dedicated yourself to making other people better. And above all, to keeping people well. And where would you excel? You can excel anywhere. You can be a general practitioner, you can be a nurse, you can be a physiotherapist, you can be a research scientist, you can be anything. Because medicine is so ample and everybody depends on everybody else. Right? There's so many ways you can do it. We all know what we have to study. Chemistry and physics and maths and all of those things that we basically hate, we just do it. Alright? You must have the ability. Trust me, if you don't have the ability to take it, there's a lot of information. There's no need to go to medical school. Don't frustrate yourself. Right? There's no need to do it. It is a lot of material. But more than that, it's not just what you learn in school, it's the information that you've never touched. Because there's ongoing research. I mean, when I went to medical school X amount of years ago, we will not say how many X is. X is not equal to anything you can imagine. My concept of diabetes is totally different from what my appreciation of diabetes is today. How I manage diabetes when I go to medical school is totally different from how I manage diabetes now. What have I done? I have continued to upgrade my information because information changes daily. You guys remember how much it cost Dr. Fauci during COVID? Oh, he said one thing today, but then it was ongoing research. Everything you practice must be evidence-based, right, everyone? It has to be. There must be research. We have to know. So you have to keep up to date. I see people who finish medical school donkey years and still practicing donkey medicine.
That's true.
Okay? Alright? So we have to really make sure that I'm willing to get into this full steam ahead and to upgrade myself to always be part of the running pack. Alright? medical school is expensive. I was looking at some numbers last night that I can't even call them numbers. You remind me of when I was in ABC and they write 6-figure numbers and I'm trying to figure out how to say it. Medical school costs a lot, but make it worth your while. If you're going to do it, make it worth your while. Say, mother mustn't take out 25,000, 28,000, 30,000 pounds, send you to Oxford for you to flunk. The mother mustn't take out even $3,000 and send to SG. What's your options, right? For you to flunk. Or for you to come out and be a son of a whatever it is, daughter. You must know that that money that's invested is invested in making a good person who's willing to go out there and take care of people by all means necessary, even when you are tired. Even when you really don't like this person. The story is told of a surgeon at UW in Kingston, University Hospital, where this guy is on duty, he's a surgeon, and a guy comes in, he has a gunshot. It so happens that's the same guy that just killed his mother a couple of weeks ago. There's no judgment, just delivery of service. Alright? You just have to be serious, you have to be disciplined, and you have to be dedicated to your work and your study. Alright? Remember, this is different. This is a vocation. This is about people and how you're going to make somebody feel, or can you make them better? Alright? There's a lot more I want to say, but I want my colleagues to get everybody here to get a chance. Yes, Steve?
Yes, sir, I'd like to ask. I mean, in the interest of time.
Yeah.
Was there a breaking point for you where, yes, I mean, I have had many friends who are doctors, and they've experienced different, points where they thought that was a breaking point for them, where they had become so attached as a student, doctor, attached to a particular patient, because that patient reminded them of a mother or an aunt and so on. And that patient passes and it devastated them. And after going through that period, they now took, I suppose it molded them into a kind of attitude where you look at a patient just as how a motor car mechanic would look at a motor car. In other words,
for me personally?
In other words, I've had experience as a patient where the doctor never cared whether I was feeling pain or not. She just did her duty. And I won't tell you what she did to me.
No, but I understand. No, I have not had an experience.
But there was no expression at all. It was just a matter of working on the body and doing what she had to do.
I think I had two very difficult points, which actually increased my resilience and my. One of them I said I wasn't going to back it. My husband was murdered, and I'm usually very empathetic, and I'm almost retentive about people coming to see dead bodies on the road, and everybody come and mako. You know how that go, right? Something happened tragic, and for some reason everybody goes to the point of the gore. And I remember when we did forensic medicine as part of our training as physicians, we had this 96-year-old professor. And the first thing he taught us was respect for the dead. So if you mean you take the person's shoe off their foot and cover their face, you're supposed to cover the dead. And I walked up to her, and I walked to the car, and I closed back the door, because it happened outside our door, right? And I closed back the door. And I forgot to cover him, and for years I couldn't get, because I was going back in the house and get a sheet and cover him. I did eventually, and I told the guys, make sure you cover him, because that's one of the things that I find very hard to do, because then the person becomes a thing, and they're not a thing, it's a person, still, right? And another time, I came to my daughter's graduation from convent, and I went back to work, like the Friday or Saturday, and I was working in the emergency room, and a young boy who had just graduated from formal college, boys' grammar school, drowned. And one of my colleagues lived in an apartment building where he went to the pool and drowned. And he came in doing CPR, and you look at the child, and you know the child is dead. And his mother's looking at me with these eyes like, so you're not going to give him life? Because she expects me now in the hospital. And I know this child is dead. He's been dead for probably 15 minutes. He's dead. And I kept, and you get a quick history because you ask him questions when you're talking through stuff. And I actually put up a drip on the child and I knew he was dead. Right? And I said, let's do some CPR. We went into the room and I know he was dead. And the mother came to me and she said, thank you very much. She said, thank you very much, because she knew, God, I feel like crying. She knew that we tried, right? And I knew that child was dead, okay? And I went into the room, we drew the curtain, and then we did try some CPR, okay? But there's nothing you could do, it's a dead child. But I kept seeing my child lying on the ground, my own child, who was his contemporary, right? And I went outside with trepidation, because I'm now the physician in charge of the ER, and I had to tell her child is dead. And I hugged her and I said, Mother. She says, thank you, you guys did everything. And then I knew I was in the right space. And then me and the nurses go in one room and lock up our ball. People think we don't cry. Me and the two nurses who were working at Ernie went and locked the door and we bawled like babies. So sometimes you have to remember and you have to empathize and put yourself in the place. A lot of us are taught to just treat it. It's not it, it's him. It's Tom. It's Mary's son. It's Angela's mother. It's somebody. And that's what I'm saying. It is for me the most human and the most humane of careers. And yes, we have a lot of people we have to work with, because you still need a physiotherapist, and you still need a radiologist, and you still need the guy who does X-ray, and the guy who comes and takes the blood on the ward. It's all other areas which are just as important. Because I tell everybody, respect the lady who cleaned the ER, because I'm not cleaning up no damn blood. Okay? Respect everybody who has a duty, because I am not doing what you do. And when you tell her, I tell the ancillary staff, clean the place properly, because I want to give good care in a nice space. Okay? So it's not just a position, it's healthcare, it's delivery of good life, and preserving whatever you can. And if you can't preserve it, make it the best it can be. Even if somebody gone dead, it's not your responsibility to tell them when they're dead. It's not your responsibility to make sure they're dead. Your only responsibility is to ensure that they have life as long, natural life, as long as it's possible, with due respect. Thank you.
Medicine and what Sonia, Dr. Dixon has just related, it shows that sharing is caring. This is the resume that we can draw from Sonia's thoughts shared this morning. For in-house management and for our presenters who are here and we have to leave, Timika.
I'll wait.
We will wait. So,
yeah.
so when we let our presenters who really have to go, so we wouldn't follow the order like this anymore. Like I say. So
we let him.
Let's say agriculture.
Yeah. So we'll say thank you again to Dr. Dixon, and we now move into feeding the nation.
I just want to say one more thing.
Yes.
So we do this when kids are in fifth form. This is a waste of time. This you do in first form and primary school. I think you asked what Luke said. I think Grenada needs to have an annual career expo.
Yes.
In the stadium, where all children come through and walk and ask everything. No, not on your own in third form. I'm talking about every year, so first formers get an insight. Because I can tell you, my daughter's an engineer, Mr. Everett. My daughter did airport design engineering and loved it and left it. My daughter's a dentist. That's how she works. Okay? Our kids need to be guided. Because when I went to when we all of us who are here who are speakers, were in high school, there was law, medicine, economics.
Well, we couldn't even think of getting there during my time.
You couldn't think of it. But what existed were those probably 6 careers. And then no, and then I'm just saying, we have to ensure, because this is what I want to come out of this. I want to don't just talk because the students aren't here. I want us to create an environment where students are guided on an annual basis, right, to make good choices, especially guided at nation building. Thank you.
That's what we take over that idea of Sonia and others who repeat it. Thank you, Sonia.
All the best. Have a great week.
Take care.
Bye, guys.
So we move now into agriculture, and here we have our Virgil here who would give us what he knows in his experience in the agro-business, agro-industry sector.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. No, it's a difficult time to be talking. Everybody again is so exhausted. It's quite heated today. I just want to say that I've been, my whole career has been basically in agriculture. Quite apart from 2 years where I spent at the Grenada Boys Secondary School as a teacher, all my years have been spent basically in the Ministry of Agriculture. I mean, I'm an agronomical engineer. That's a term that is especially used in Latin America, the Caribbean. I studied in Cuba. So as an agronomical engineer, you're expected to do a lot of things related to, quite apart from all the biological sciences, chemistry, physics. You have to study irrigation, do design, do topography, do mechanical engineering, and so forth. So that's why it's an engineering course. I must say one of the quintessential challenges facing the world today, globally, is the whole issue of food and nutrition security. It is estimated that close to 1 billion people go hungry every day, and there are numerous persons who die from malnutrition. And the COVID-19 experience has made the situation much more severe. And that's precisely why, and one of the things we have learned from the COVID-19 is the fact that countries have to develop their own national capacity as far as it relates to production of food. Because you see what the supply chain, imagine if we have a war now, what happens? I mean, I was particularly I went through some anxious moment during COVID-19 because I came to the realization there is a distinct possibility that we would have been faced with severe food shortages. And so that's why over the last maybe 2 decades, a lot of countries came to the realization that they have to put mechanisms in place to improve the food and nutrition security. And in that regard, the FAO provided the Food and Agricultural Organization, which is the global institution that deals with food and everything else, support in developing the food and nutrition security. One of the threats faced by countries in terms of the food and nutrition security is what we see now in climate change. A lot of cultivars, varieties of plants, whether it's vegetables, exotic fruits and so forth, they respond very well to the environment. And with the increases in temperature we have seen, a lot of them cannot produce optimally. So there is a dire need to develop new varieties that could cope with the high temperatures. And that's besides why a lot of production is virtually collapsing in many parts of the world. In addition to that, what we have seen also in regards to food and nutrition security is the whole issue of invasive alien species. Only recently I did a consultancy with Kabi through ICA about the threats of IS, invasive alien species. That's a big word, but it means exotic pests and diseases. Well, you read about lionfish in the marine environment. Over the years, the lionfish had been invading the waters in the Caribbean, creating real havoc. And you know as a fact that fish and fish products are a major component of the nutrition needs of a lot of people in the Caribbean. So that's just one example. Consider that when I joined the ministry years ago, maybe 1988, Grenada and St. Vincent were the only 2 countries in the Caribbean that could have exported all the exotic tropical fruits to the United States. But consider the situation now. We have lost it. So small farmers gain a lot of, made a lot of money from exporting golden apple, mango. We had mango seed weevil. In terms of golden apple fruit flies. Then we had a disease called moko disease in banana. It is like the AIDS in banana. I've never seen a disease as bad. That was first observed in Grenada in 1978. Then in 2005, we saw there is a dreaded disease in banana. As you may well appreciate, banana is one of the major staples in Grenada. We consume it as a staple in cooking, fruits, and also it's used widely in smoothies and everything else.
And the black cicatoca is a dreaded disease. In addition to that, we have seen over the years also a lot of diseases, pests, coconut beetles. We have seen it even right now. There is a disease called citrus greening in citrus. The propagating station, which annually produces a substantial amount of plants. Everybody in the backyard have citrus all over the place. They stop producing it because of the citrus greening. They're developing a special protocol to produce it and produce it healthily. So essentially what we have seen is a situation where this agriculture sector is under serious threat. Quite apart from the fact that, on the other hand, we're seeing, for example, high cost of production, fertilizer, fall type, everything else going on. And add to the one of the major threats, paradialastinate. It's just a big word that really means produce steal. People just stealing people's things. In fact, if that situation is not arrested, where is it in Bengal police? You may well find farmers may exit the agriculture industry as farmers because people, you produce and you can't get anything. People just stealing left, right, and center. So the agriculture sector is faced with enormous challenges. I mean, we lost market share, cost of production, climate change, invasive alien species. What is important, however, and with the climate change, there is a strategy to see to what extent farmers could adopt climate-smart agriculture approaches. I mean, do anything to mitigate against climate change. Fortunately, agriculture is a high priority globally. So a lot of funding agencies produce resources to support both training and other things to adopt climate change strategies. A couple of years ago, maybe about 8 years ago, the German federal government, Ministry of the Environment, provided about $20 million to develop strategies to combat climate change impacts in Grenada. And I think, yes, we could have done better, but yet it is a start and we sincerely hope we'll move forward. Another quintessential threat is the whole issue of human resource. There are a lot of careers in agriculture that I think young people could embrace. I mean, you could talk about agronomy, you could talk about veterinary medicine, because one of the things the ministry has over the years have been trying to do is to decrease the importation of a lot of meat and meat products. Grenada imports on an annual basis over $300 million in food, and a big portion of that is meat and meat products. How it is we could reduce that? One of the things that have happened over the years, people have developed an appetite for what I call very, food that is not very healthy. Okay, the fried chicken, the this, the that. And with that, there is a direct correlation with the development of NCDs, non-communicable diseases. We've seen young people, this is 10 years, their diabetes and all kinds of things. So there is a real serious, they have to put a plan in place to see how that could be addressed. What we see, I mean, as a child growing up, when my mom cooked, no matter what she cooked, so this you eat. These are children demanding, Mommy, no, I want KFC, I want pizza, I want this. And that is resonated, that is really causing a serious problem. So these are things that have to be addressed. If we want to make the agricultural sector more resilient, human resources are important. What has happened essentially, I'll give you a classical example. I have retired from the service about 2 years ago. Many persons have retired from the service just before that and a lot after that. So what essentially happened is the ministries are a skeleton to what they used to be. And if it is that we want to ensure that Grenada produces sufficient food to meet all its dietary needs and meet its food and nutrition security commitments, we have to do better in terms of the human resources. So what essentially I've done, see if we could co-op, because over the years, so a lot of people have not been studying a lot of the agricultural sciences. And even some who do, they have not been getting employment. So they go and elsewhere, so migrating. So it's a serious issue that had to be addressed. Even when you look at forestry. Forestry is like, I always say people who work in the kitchen in a restaurant. You don't see them, you believe they are not important, but they are very important. Forestry, through water, when you look at developing water catchment areas for potable water and all these things. If you don't have good forestry management, reforestation, all these things, if you go into forestry, they don't even have human resources in the forestry. Don't talk about the fisheries. Grenada has the biggest fisheries sector. All this is agriculture. Biggest fisheries sector in the OECS. We export fish to Antigua, Time, St. Lucia, all over the place. But yet, you don't even have a chief fisheries officer with these requisite skills to manage. 10 years ago, we had a full complement of staff. People retired and they have not been replaced. So we are heading, as far as the agricultural sector, towards disaster. To be good towards disaster, to tell you that resonates well with him because he knows very well. So one of the things I think the new administration has to do as a priority, see how it is, we could continue employing young persons. There is a preponderance of careers at least agronomy, soil science, extension, horticulture, agriculture engineering, marketing, veterinary medicine, and there are emerging issues because when you look at the multilateral and the conventions, like there's a lot of conventions globally that they put in place to ensure that countries maintain the resources. Like we have the CBD Convention on Biological Diversity that deals with everything and biosafety and so forth. We have the convention, the NCCD, Convention to Prevent Desertification, and all these things. And sometimes now you can't even have a representative because the people who are there now they can't do that well. So there is a move forward to see how persons with the requisite skill to go and support the industry while they put an interim system in place. I want to say that there is good careers. I mentioned just something here that people could, if you go on the FA website, you see every day they were advertising fantastic jobs. Even at one of the things that we have to do going Grenada to research and development, that has been lacking in a way. And I think if you have the requisite people, because when you confront the problem, the best way to deal with it is to do your research and you could come and you could validate and everything. If you don't do that, then you continue to go. Agriculture continues to be very important, very important. And my observation over the years, everybody has an opinion on agriculture. If you do a radio program, 10,000 people will call. Everybody has an opinion because that resonates to them. So young people, I remember when I first, that's the last point, when I first came and teaching GBSS, some years ago, I remember I took the students to a supermarket, not physically, and we started talking about, just to focus in mind on the importance of agriculture. And we started talking about the milk, the yogurt, the cheese, the that. All this, they didn't realize all this came from agriculture practices and everything else, and they say, my God, and then the rice, whatever it is, everything in the supermarket. And then I saw a totally different perspective on the part of the students. They embrace, I taught agriculture and 52 students, 51%, 18 distinction, people in from 4th, and that is the kind of, approach. Like Sonia said, Dr. Nixon, whatever we do, we have to be with our all. We have to like what we do, And even my association, working with farmers over the years, I found farmers are one of the sweetest people you could ever meet. You support them, you give them guidance, and they love you forever. While at the same time they're doing transformation in what they normally do. So agriculture will continue to be very important because you cannot postpone eating. You cannot postpone your breakfast, your lunch. And not only that, not anything for lunch. Very healthy lunch, very healthy breakfast. So we have to support and work together to see how we could continue having sustainable development of the agricultural sector, not taking into account to the potential for export and foreign exchange generation. And it's linked with other sectors, tourism and everything else. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lewis, for giving us those insight into agriculture, agribusiness, and all the related fields. You mentioned food. We have refreshment that will come at the end of this session, and I see you have to leave as well.
I am asking very respectfully if I could be the next presenter.
Well, I would definitely.
Very respectfully.
I have so many who would want to do that, but ladies would be first. And we have the different dimensions of diversities of careers. So we'll come back for those who could remain. And for youth, we have refreshments and eats, etc. So don't leave. If you are hungry, we take it. So let's just get one step further. And guys, we're supposed to be in Tarleton paying for the there's a little pushback of the time. So normally here would really be complimenting the pushback of the time at Tarleton paying fee. But of course we have to deal with our presenters who are here and accommodate them as best we can. DJ, what about you guys? You have to leave anytime soon? Okay, good. So, great. So I know how you guys are flexible in construction side. You must adapt at times. So we want hospitality because the hospitality that we are getting today is also from the Roberts family. So Nico Yan will tell us about all what hospitality is all about and accommodate us here at this point in time. Thank you, Gloria.
Thank you, Dr. Lewis, and I appreciate everyone's time and patience. I just want to say thank you to the GBSS alumni for inviting me to do this. And I wanted you to put up your hands, all of those who are students present. If you could put up your hands, please. Go ahead, don't be shy, don't be afraid. You can't be afraid of life. Are you a student as well? You're not a student. Okay. How old are you? 15, 14, 15, my friend, 14.
73.
I'm Deacon Bayo. Okay, I'm going to tell you a little story in about 10 minutes that starts with a 15-year-old, yours truly, and I didn't know that I could achieve any of the things that I achieved. So I want you to start from there, okay? Now, I am going to tie it to your school song, GBSS school song. It says, respect to tradition, yield the feet of fathers and brothers are beacons marking the way. So when I was asked to do this, my husband, Kennedy Roberts, on Tuesday night, we came from Carnage, and he said to me, somebody sent me a WhatsApp, but it's not for me, it's for you. So that's Tuesday to today's Thursday. When I thought that my father, Dr. David Jack Radix, Deacon Byam's godbrother, was a GBSS alumni, and also the fact that Kennedy, my husband of 34 years, is a GBSS alumni as well, I had to say, I have to do this because I have to respect and yield to tradition. I was also given, thank you. The challenge, the assignment was to answer 4 questions for you, the students. Endeavor enhances merit. The slacker is folly's tool. So I had to find some time, apart from my professional work and my domestic work, to sit down, think about it, and answer the 4 questions. Now, as a 15-year-old, I left the Anglican High School, right next door, did my O-levels, and the first time I spoke to Kennedy was right in the area here. He was 17, Radix, Roberts, they put us together as part of a team to do a team exercise. And that's when he became my friend. So we were studying, and he became my friend 40 plus years ago, right in this GBSS auditorium. So, let's go to the questions that I have to answer for you. So let me just make myself comfortable. And please pay attention because there's a test, my friend, at the end of the 10 minutes. And I hope all of you have smartphones. I think all of you do because I'm going to ask you to take out your smartphones and do an assignment that will benefit you. Not me, but you. So, what was my vision? Or what became my vision? Because at 15, I didn't know I was going to do any of this. Right? God made me to do what? I've learned that I can motivate teams and achieve project successes. Bring a project in on time, on budget. How? By providing agile, adaptive, and transformational leadership, which means I can plan my day, but anything can happen to throw my plan out of whack. I have to breathe, think of the situation, think of the resources and what solutions we can bring to the table. Outcomes, the why. Why do I do this? To build human capital. Like my daughter, my son, like you, my friend, my young friend who's going to be an exceptional plumber, right? So we start with that vision, we drive business competitiveness, and we grow wealth sustainably so we can feed our families and make a better quality of life for ourselves. That then becomes, after we leave, our legacy. And we do this now, in an era of climate change. Yes, sir, could you please put away your phone? And in the post-COVID-19 pandemic. What I do, I work in the field of travel, tourism, and hospitality business development and management. In my job, prior to COVID, I would travel at least 6 times a year to different conferences and meetings, marketing whatever Grenada's assets were in terms of tourism development, whether it's on the land, terrestrial environments, or it's in the maritime sphere. So, at the GTA, the Grenada Tourism Authority, you know that, right? I manage 2 departments, and I've received training from our former Chief of Protocol, Ms. Alice Thomas Roberts, a former AHS alumni herself. And in 2014, I didn't apply for this job, but I was asked, I applied for another job, but I was asked to be the manager for nautical development. And what do any of you think nautical development entails? The women, we have to be more courageous sometimes. What do you think nautical development means, young lady? Nautical, maritime, marine. My friend the plumber, the exceptional plumber. Okay, let me make it a little easy for you. Since you're shy, the cruise ships that come here, I am part of the team that goes to the headquarters of Royal Caribbean and Carnival and Norwegian and Silver Seas and says, this is what Grenada's ports, and Mr. Redhead has left. I work with his team because I have to know the depth of the commercial port. I have to know the length is 230 meters. I have to know the length of the cruise ship port, 350 meters, with a depth of 11 meters, so that we can tell the cruise lines, these are some of the basic operational assets that we work with. You can bring your ships into Grenada during this period with your tourists to come and go to our attractions, to use our taxis, to use our tour guides, to buy our craft and our gifts. And so I work on business development and training for people who service the cruise ships, the yachts that come here. During COVID, I was part of a team to develop protocols so that Grenada shut down on the 20th of March, and by the 13th of May, we had yachts coming into Grenada and carrier crew working with the police and the private sector, Ministry of Tourism, Grenada Tourism Authority, to ensure that the yachts would come, they could quarantine, they would still be provided with services from approved suppliers, and Grenadians could get business for the 3 months until June we reopened when we were under lockdown. So yachting, cruise, sport fishing. Grenada is, one of its geographic endowments is that we are in an area where our fisheries, they're very healthy. They have a good, strong stock. We practice good fisheries management, agriculture and fisheries. So the large pelagics like yellowfin tuna, blue marlin, etc., this is their area. And so twice or 3 times a year, we can stage competitions where people come from all over the world to do sport fishing, and it's sustainable. They tag and release. And that way, we bring money into the economy. Scuba diving. At the age of 53, I learned to dive. I'll be quite honest with you, it was a little scary, because when I spent almost half an hour outside Grenada, 108 feet, and the test that day was showing us what happens to your lungs by using a plastic bottle that was opened at that depth and it collapsed. When you're diving, you learn you have to observe safety stops so that your body can decompress and you won't get the bends. So that was a little scary, but the job I do enabled me to learn to dive for free. So, from last November, our CEO called me. I was on vacation. I went to see my mother. I hadn't seen her in almost 2 years in Miami. And I was online listening to the Anglican church service one Sunday evening. And my CEO called and said, "You're back next week and we want you to manage 2 departments. In addition to nautical development, we want you to manage marketing and sales." So, wow, that's a lot. But I go back to your school song. Your school song. To be the man is not all, for each has to play his role. The team wins the match at football or netball or cricket, but one man or woman must kick the goal. So whatever I do to ensure that tourism remains the #1 foreign exchange earner for Pitimati, Carriacou, and Grenada, I have to do it as part of a team, okay? You have to do it as part of a team. You have to bring every day what is in you to make this happen. And so I have to be able to work with people at all levels to learn what are the assets that we have, how can we market it, go online, look for different countries that have implemented sustainable marketing strategies to make sure that they don't just have 500,000 or 1 million visitors. It's not what that is not what it's really all about. It's the quality of the people coming here. How much money are they going to spend while they're here, and they are going to protect our environment by becoming involved in volunteerism so they can dive like I did and see how you replant elk-horn coral in Carriacou. They can go to the GSPCA and volunteer to take care of pets. They can go to our spice estates and learn how to bark cinnamon and plant nutmeg and cocoa, etc. So qualifications, what do we need to be able to have a sustainable and a successful career in travel, tourism, and hospitality? So after I did my A-levels, I did a bachelor's degree in geography, because I love geography too. And volcanoes were interesting, but earthquakes, I mean, just thinking of the plates sliding along each other and being subducted, and oh, that was fascinating. So I did geography and English literature. What would I come back to Grenada to do? Because just like Dr. Nurse, I grew up on the wharf. I'm a person for freedom. I grew up with people that look like you and me. So in the USA, it's a different culture, it's a different environment, the people are different, the food is different. I wanted to come back home. But I didn't want to teach. So I ended up working in administration and then went to work in American Airlines. And after I worked with American Airlines for 10 years, I got the opportunity to go and study my first postgraduate degree. Now, I was scared. I was a wife and a mother. But I looked online, American Airlines was pulling out, and I felt I needed to go back to school. So you need to listen to yourself. And I scanned the environment. I went online, I read newspapers. My friend, the awesome plumber. You have to look around you, you have to go online, you have to read to see the opportunities. And I applied for a scholarship, and I got it. A full EU scholarship to go to Mona, where I was born, and do a master's degree in tourism and hospitality management. And so I left Kennedy with our 2 children, and I did that. And I came back, and I went to work with the Grenada Board of Tourism. And after a few years, I got another opportunity to go and work in energy of all things, salt petroleum, where I learned the relationship between what we use in terms of energy and, in this case, petroleum products that impact our environment. but tourism seemed to have been my first love because I got a chance to go back to work at the GBT and be part of the team that helped them to transition from the Grenada Board of Tourism to the Grenada Tourism Authority. And in that position, while working and being a wife and mother, I got another opportunity. Again, looking around and seeing what is available. St. George's University had an online MBA in international business. And Kennedy was a lecturer there at the time, and he said, oh, you could do that. And yes, I applied for it. I didn't even know how I was going to pay for it. So I got into the school, and then I called someone at the school to say, okay, I need to come and work with a payment plan, because I don't know how I'm paying for this, and it's 18,000 US. And they said to me, oh, here's the website to apply. It's not too late. You could apply for a government scholarship, and the rest is history. So when I finished that in 2016, everything that I did, I was able to put it back into use, but not even thinking that I could actually go there one step at a time. For the past 25 years, I have become able to communicate with people at all levels. If you are a vagrant, I can communicate with you. If you are an ordinary person, a farmer, a nurse, a teacher, I can communicate with you. If you're operating above my levels in terms of policy and economic ability and social stature, I can respectfully communicate with you. So you have to be a good communicator. You have to use all of your senses. You have to be observant. You have to listen. You have to talk, yes, but you have to listen a lot to understand what people need and how you can help them. So you also have to be a critical thinker. You have to be able to be adaptable, use innovation. You have to be customer focused. I am customer focused on the people I live with at home, on the people I work with, the people I work with on the job, and with people in the international and regional communities. The Customs Law Enforcement Council, it's a regional body. They're headquartered in St. Lucia. I can work with them. I've worked with them during COVID. Was invited to do a presentation at their AGM about what Grenada did by leading to take care of yachts during COVID. Team player, team leader. You have to know when to lead. You have to know when to step back and allow other people to shine. You have to learn how you can follow and achieve things. And I have demonstrated technical and functional skills. So now I'm going to close off on the professional travel and tourism side and tell you about hospitality. So I told you I'm a wife for 34 years, a mother for 33 years, and last year, June, and this is coming out of COVID, being the four of us at home talking about things we want to do with the garden, with our home, with the things we are passionate about, cooking, videoing, posting on social media. And so we launched Home Hospitality Grenada. And Home Hospitality Grenada is a family-owned garden-to-table agri-tourism business. So we are growing what we eat, we're eating what we grow, and we invite people into our home. We do bookings, people who come on cruise ships, people who come on the yachts. The publicist for Beyonce, she has come to our home so that my husband can pick what is in the garden and cook for her. She came back, she brought a team of 12 photographers, videographers, producers from Essence. And so we have a piece of social content that was produced by Essence magazine. She came back with Tempo. You all look at Tempo? Another piece of content was developed. We do workshops, Caribbean Bankers Association, they bring a team of 12. We say, okay, this is what we have in the garden. They go, they pick it, they come back, they compete against each other, they cook different dishes. Lexanne Fletcher is a local media personality. She came to our house, she did a video, doing that experience, that culinary experience, cooking authentic Grenadian foods, and you cooking it yourself while Kennedy teaches you. And we developed another piece of digital content. We've launched a YouTube channel. We're in the process of launching the website, but we have content that's loaded. You can go on Instagram, you can go on Facebook, HH Grenada, Home Hospitality Grenada, and you can see the types of things that we do. So I do that with Kennedy, David, and Ariel. Ariel does it long distance. She works in San Francisco now, and she is our CEO. She's younger than the two of us, obviously, but she is the one who books all of the business with the suppliers. She does all of the accounting. She holds her father accountable. She asks him every week, he has to submit, what did you spend, what did you make, what's your expenditure, what's your sales. And so she controls the financial aspect of what is going on. In today's world, we can all work remotely in terms of the professions that we achieve. Pitfalls to avoid. Don't think you could do it yourself. It takes your entire team to ensure you achieve your goals. Take the time to be prepared with the tools that are required to do your job. Read, research, look around you, talk to people. Relate your Grenadian experience with what travelers want to experience today. Everybody wants to eat healthy. Everybody wants to live in a country like we do, where we're not locked up behind doors. We can go outside, we can play, we can farm, we can fish, we can swim. Those are gifts that people pay a lot of money to come here to do. There's some families that spend in excess of £6,000 or £7,000 per person per week to come to Grenada. And if you multiply that out by the rate of exchange, 4 to 1, you'll see how much money we are investing to come because they want a vacation where we live. Success is most often the result of being prepared, collaborating with others to use scarce resources in the most practical and efficient way, communicating consistently, listening without interrupting, not being afraid to ask questions, and being willing to work any position on the team for the win of all. So I have worked with a team. One Sunday morning, we went and we cleaned the St. George's Market with the RGPF, fire officers, and girls and boys from the St. George's Cadet Corps. And I coordinated it with gloves, with the things that you pick up garbage with masks. Some parts of it wasn't pleasant. But we know we want to keep where we live clean, and if visitors are coming and they want to go to the market to buy spices, who best to clean our house but us? So you might say a manager shouldn't do that, but this is what you have to do to manage effectively. You have to walk the talk. So a practical exercise. Can you pull out your smartphones? Bro, now you can pull out your phone. If you want to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. Anyway, wishgrenada.com. That's the West Indies School of Hospitality. It's an e-learning platform that's managed by Cornell University in the USA, in New York. And you can go online and do 8 45-minute sessions. You can do it all at once, you can take your time, in different areas of hospitality and customer service. That way, you can find out, is this my passion? Is this something I'm interested in? But the benefit for you, whether you want it or not, is that you can get a certificate that you can add to your CV that you have done this University of Cornell e-learning platform training in hospitality arts. And you have that under your belt, and you have it on your CV. And in closing, the certificate will say the Cornell University School of Hotel administration. And that's pretty big. I mean, especially if you're starting from being a 14 or a 15-year-old who is just building your passion, your talent, your career for the long term. So, all of that being said, every day I get up like most other people, like everyone else, and I try to act justly, to love mercy, because I want people to show me mercy when I do things that maybe, not very smart. So I want to be able to give mercy to others because I don't know what their circumstances are. And I want to be able to walk humbly with my God because He has been the one who has blessed me with this career, with this relationship with my husband that started 40 plus years ago, sitting right here next to each other in the GBSS auditorium, and being able to be a mother to two and a friend to others who train and develop others to grow and make a better life for themselves. And as I thank God, I want to go back to Mrs. Alice Thomas Roberts and thank her, because I have many times sat while she has delivered protocol and etiquette and professional training to me and my team members as representatives of the Grenada Tourism Authority. So thank you again, and best of luck with all of your studies and your career development. Wish Grenada, West Indies School of Hospitality, wishgrenada.com.
Did I say Wish West Indies School of Hospitality?
Yeah, that should do it. Yes.
Thank you very much, Nicoya. Thank you very much. Guys, it's a question of consensus at the moment. Time is the factor right now, and your patience also. And from our team, Timmy and Brethren, what are we doing at the moment? We continue like we have done our
Maybe
way.
we could do a Zoom or something, I don't know. Keep it going through Zoom or something.
I mean, there are only about 2 or 3.
Oh, it's only
We have so many people may have to leave now.
You want to eat and...
But for the youth themselves,
they can focus
how are you
on
feeling?
you don't want to focus
You want to eat and drink something?
Or you want to call it...
So
could, and then continue with it another way. Maybe Zoom would be great. Then we could really get more people.
To be expedient, if we could bring a bit of eats and drinks here so we don't dispose, once we dispose, we may not come back. So let us entertain and accommodate the youth and those of us who are still presenters, who can still stay back. Let us try to be flexible, bring the eats and drinking for the youth, and we'll take the next person who urgently has to leave the session as a presenter. Thank you, Nicoyan, for your hospitality. And the youth, what Nicoyan said, we live in a place where people come for holiday. And I know that to myself, I live in Germany, and people like in the mountains want to go to the seaside. We have it everywhere around us. Every part of Grenada you get a beautiful view. So in moving on, we will take the next person. Hands up who have to leave.
I'm one of the ones that have a couple of deadlines. Yes.
So we're going to have our own homemade GBSS brethren in a field that takes care of everything that all of us have to deal with, because there must be law and order and legalities to conduct any business that is sustainable. And there's no other person, no lesser than Mr. Roland St. Paul, who would give you his vitality.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm happy when you guys get ready. You guys have been very quiet. So I want to get a little bit of reaction, a little something from you guys, right? So I'll tell you a little bit about what lawyers do, what you want to think about if you're interested in law, and why I think you want to become a lawyer. And I'll tell you sort of what the myth is about lawyers in Grenada that I experience versus what reality, right? So I'm married to Teresa, i.e. I'm a corporate lawyer who is also a real estate developer. And I'm sure that when I was a kid in Grenada and I was here in GBSS, I didn't hear anybody mention real estate development. So I was able to transition from pure corporate law to becoming a real estate developer. So you can marry careers. So I remember maybe just a few years ago, I was registering my son at Howard University School of Business. And a Jamaican guy standing behind me said, I don't understand any young people's business. And he said, boy, back in my days, there was 2 careers. It was either law or medicine. I don't understand all these other things. Right? But that's not the case anymore. And you should think of a lot of other things you can do. All right? So typically, what do lawyers in Grenada? I'm a lawyer in the States, I'm in Maryland. In Grenada, generally, a lot of the lawyers go to court. They do deed conveyances and deeds and affairs. In larger countries, lawyers do a lot more than that, and it's very special. So you probably heard your mother and grandmother say, if you like to argue, you can be a good lawyer. Not necessarily the case, probably not true, right? If any of you like to write a lot, you do like writing, I saw you shaking your hand. Strong writing? Persuasive, exactly what you need. Persuasive writing. Right, so I'm looking at you here. Do you have an interest in law? Have you thought about it?
Well, I thought of it, but I didn't directly.
Right, so back when I was growing up, people say, oh, you like to argue, you're a lawyer. That's because the lawyers here do the courtroom work. In other countries, lawyers do not, most lawyers I know have never been to a court. A lot of the work that's done is behind the scenes and it's drafting, writing. Most, even in litigation, the cases, through a major trial, you may never get to court. It's all decided by motions that judges will have, the motions. So it's all about writing. If you like to write, if you don't like to write, learn to write properly. That's the focus. Reading comprehension, critical. You want to be able to read in law school, you're doing 4 or 5 different heavy subjects, and every night you're reading maybe 4 or 5 cases for each subject. That's hundreds of pages, so you have to like to read and to comprehend pretty quickly. So reading comprehension, writing, and arguing and all that stuff, that's not necessary, right? It's the reading, it's the writing. So what I've done, I started in business to show you how you can get it from another way. I went to the University of West Indies on scholarship, got a business degree at UWI, then I went to Howard University, got a master's in business. So think about it, it's all business. After that, I was consulting for global consulting from Princeton, in a lot of countries and programs. Going after that, I realized, you know what? I can marry business and consulting something with law. So then I went to law school after. Since I had a business background, I focus on corporate law, business side of law. So I don't do criminal, I have never done any of this stuff, it's all business. Mergers and acquisition, I've represented a lot of global investment companies, hedge funds, private equity, that's the stuff I do. So it means that you didn't think I want to do criminal law. Because I remember growing up with my mom and families and saying, lawyers are crooks. Maybe a lot of it's true. So my mom said, you know, what I really would like you to do, make me think about being a priest. Because back then, a priest was a good person, right? A lawyer was a crook, think about that. So there are a lot of other areas you can do within law and business that doesn't involve where the court and trying to defend the criminal if you know how to everyone has a legal right, they have things about representing the right, right? So after that, I got into real estate development. What do real estate developers do? Think about the mall in Grenada, right? Iceland mall, we call it. Someone came with the idea to take the raw land, change that into some, build it out, right? And there's a lot goes in between there. So you hire some of the guys in construction engineers that we talked earlier. You have architects involved. So you have the plans for the architectural drawing. You have the finance people, all of the people who need money, right? So you need banks involved, investors, that kind of thing. Then you hire the construction firm to do it. So just think about it. You're the person putting it together, is not doing any of this stuff, it's hiring people. So you have to think that you could do this stuff one day. Don't let maybe 2 or 3 people in Grenada who develop walls do it. Think that if you could do it, you really could do it. In the GBSS 7 years, GBSS from 1 to form 5 and 6. Then back then it was B and G, right? Right. G and B, 1, 6, G. And I was able to go to the state, work for the law firm, and do university development project just because it's available. You have to think that you could do it, you want to do it, and you learn everything, you know, basically to be able to do it, right? So it's very doable, and why would you want to be a lawyer, especially business corporate, tends to be lucrative for you. But as Dr. Nixon said earlier, you have to want to do it, you have to like it. You can't just do something just because you make a lot of money, you have to want to do it. Otherwise, you will get to the bed. Right? So think of what career that you guys want to follow. Think about what it takes to do it. Look at your strengths. Just look at your strengths. If you're really just strong in math and physics and things, you know, big biology, you got to have right? If you're really good reading, writing, think of a career in law, not just in other areas, not just law, but other areas, business, you know, finance, there are a lot of areas to look at, but look at your strengths and build on that. There's nothing that you can't do. And if you think you're not strong in something, you know, a lot of students from the Caribbean come up thinking they couldn't do math. They got to the States, having to do a master's in maybe in business and having to do basic calculus or something. And you know, the thing was as hard as we thought. We just weren't maybe thought the right way, or we just didn't write the right way. We couldn't guide us. Because if someone had told me when I was your age that, you know, you could actually become a lawyer and not go to the courtroom and explain to me how to do it, maybe I would have done it early, right? So just think of all the things, the strengths, and what you want to do, and what I'm trying to suggest to Dr. Garcia. Maybe we do this more often in a Zoom setting, maybe, so we have more students, we can talk more, and you guys can ask questions. I really want you guys to be more involved. Ask questions. Tell us what you're thinking. What are you thinking about doing at this point in your life? And when we have more time, we can get to the bottom of it and get really more of your peers involved so we can figure out ways how to get you to the right career for you. Okay? All right, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, Roland. Again, another GBSS boy.
No, I have to leave. Can I just make a
yes, man.
make
Yes,
an observation?
Yeah, man.
Good. Before I leave. And this is actually directed to our Vice President, our Principal, Mr. Our lawyer who have just presented was also a very good table tennis player. I think he might have represented Grenada as well too. All right. What my observation is that our auditorium is underutilized. Right? At my tenure at GBSS, we had table tennis board from the lobby right back to almost to the.
Yeah, we had.
And
in fact, there's one time it was an A board, B board, C board. Everybody remember that?
Right.
That board was the
and I think it also contributed to the cognitive advance of our students then. So my observation also to our engineers, look at the floor. It's not what it used to be. Right? We also did the marking is still there. I think the badminton was played here. So I'm also requesting to our engineers, maybe a contribution could be made towards refurbishing this and making it usable again for our students. Thank you.
Good observation. I like it.
So that was a recollection of what happened here in the past. Roland for talking about the situation of lawyers. And we also gonna drift a bit and thanks for the input from the young guys here. We have sports and we have GBSS again, and I heard from Jewel this morning all the accolades of this brethren, so I guess we don't know much about him, especially me. So I would call on the brethren to highlight a bit about sports and coaching, sports management. That is Jewel Phillips. And he will maybe tell you one or two sentences about himself and what this career is all about. For those guys who have been training, and I know you guys will be interested in sports, but you came from the starting phase to the auditorium, which we really appreciate your presence here. Thank you, Lee, for bringing your presence up. Thank you very much.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Joel Phillip. I went to GBSS here 2019, 2024. I did a second year in 2005. So 99 2005, I was here at GBSS. In terms of sports, I did track, football, cricket, and even within that span, I was playing volleyball for the year for the women academic students. So I didn't just do one sport, I was a multi-sport athlete. Same thing in terms of academics. I didn't just, stick to one particular side of academics. I did IT, but I have CXC, I have IT, agriculture science, building technology, English, geography, human social biology. I have all those subjects as CXC subjects, right? So, as I usually say, jack of all trades, master of none. That's a saying, but I did all of that. Presently, I am the Associate Director of Athletics at the University of the District of Columbia in DC. I heard the word Howard University about 2 or 3 times. That's just right on the street from where I work. I'm a former coach as well, track and field coach. A coach from middle school all the way up to NCAA Division I schools. So I was at Columbia University in New York. I was at Lehman College in New York. I was at Lindenwood University in Missouri, and now at UDC. All right, I was a head coach at UDC before I took this role that I'm playing now. In internal operations, what I do is that I'm in charge of all transportation, equipment and apparel. I also oversee sports medicine, all our facilities, game day, rentals, and I also do some of the marketing for our department as well. So, say jack of all trades, master of none. I did my hand in a lot of different things. One thing I want to mention that's very important, because I know some of you here are athletes. Whenever I coach, and even now in the department, whenever we have meetings and stuff, we're referring to our students who play sports, I call them student athletes. Because you're a student first, athlete comes second. Right? Probably heard some of my accolades that I've had here at GBSS. In Intercall, I had everything from sub-junior champ all the way to senior champ. I won all of those. All right. So with that being said, I wouldn't be where I am now if I wasn't a student first. All right. You have to take your academics very serious. First and foremost, if you don't have academics, you can't get into school in the US. Even if you want to go to Jamaica, it's going to be hard to get into school in Jamaica. Because I know we have athletes now who get scholarships to Jamaica. It's going to be hard to get into a school if you don't have proper academics. The grades are not right. So even while you're here, you want to enjoy your time, secondary school, you want to enjoy what you're doing, track, whether it's track, football, whatever it is, but you want to make sure that you take care of your academics. Right? You could be the best athlete in the entire world, but if you don't have your academics straight, you won't be able to get into any of the universities in the US or like Jamaica. All right, so I won't go much further, but just to say that take your academics, make sure you get proper rest, make sure you're eating healthy. All right? Think of your body as a sports car. If you're not servicing it properly, you're not putting in the right fluids, proper gas, you won't be able to perform. All right? So once you're doing those 3 things, academics, food, proper sleep, and when I say food, I mean proper nutrition, and academics. Once you take care of those things, sky's the limit. And I know, at least when I was here, I thought, hey, I'm going to be a pro. It doesn't always work out that way. Right? So you have to have something where you can fall back on. The academics, all right? So that's all I have to know. If you have any questions, I'm here. Let me know. Thank you.
I must say this is a very young coach. I mean,
yes, Mr.
to be a head coach.
I just want to thank this sport. I know we have some athletes here. And I endorse all that you said. One of the things about this school, many of the leading athletes who are representing the country, they graduated from this school. And we have a program where, and you spoke about the academics. I want to just also recognize Mr. Lee Coffey, who is one of our coaches. And Mr. Lee could remember a student, Nathaniel Mark, very weak academically, but very strong as an athlete and so. And you know, I commend our teachers here in terms of the program that we have. They work with these athletes. He's now studying at one of the colleges or universities in the US, right? And I mean, it's very important, as he said, the academics. So even if you're not strong in areas, you can get the help, and the rest could, you know, the future is bright.
So I thank you as well, Mr. Lucian. Any questions from the youth on sports? Now that you got it live, feel free. It's your day, okay? It's your day, not our day. It's your day. Feel free. Squeeze us like oranges. Get the juice out of us.
Did you say feel free?
And it comes automatically inside this business, you know what I mean? So guys, yes.
Just to add, I know Coach very well, right? So sometimes Coach is doing a plan for you guys. Sometimes people call me and ask my input on the plan, guys.
See?
So, like I said, we know each other for decades now. So sometimes the plans you got some of you guys doing, my head and his head must be together. As you guys go.
That's good.
I think also the kids should try to utilize him in the fact that he is already established in the US to transition to schools, you know, for athletics, scholarships and so on. You know, you're really looking to contacting people like that.
So this could be an idea. Network is one of the most important.
That's most important.
You guys should just be taking on, hey, so what's your address? What's your phone number? Just take our contact with it. That's why you are here. You need that for you may need some point in time. Feel free, don't be shy. I used to be like you guys, very, very shy. I never say one word in my life. You know what I mean? But as you grow, you just recognize, man, you just got to free up yourself and talk. And with regards to sport, my son, I thought I wanted to make quick money as a footballer. And he played damn good football in Germany as a youth until he damaged his knee. And the only thing, he never paid much for academics. Because he was good in all sports, but football as a German, I wanted him to play for German national team. So I invested all my time, taking him night and day, wherever he had to go. And when he got that injury, it was like things fell apart. He recuperated, he has taken out how many meniscus, his knee is rotten, but he has learned to become a coach, a trainer, fitness trainer, everything surrounding, and now he's teaching or coaching top German athletes in whatever field, like running, jumping, football, whatever. So besides being sportsmen like athletes or football or cricketers, there are also means and ways when you get certain injuries that you do not have to leave the world of sport, cry and get sad over it that you have lost that opportunity to become this national player whatsoever. These are many, many other areas where you can get involved in as a sports person, and you can do in Germany. Education at higher level is also free once you have the ability to do the sports and the academic. So there's one thing called sports economics, which my son did, and he's doing that quite well. So sports is a big thing, and we know GBSS has always been producing the best sportsmen. If we had the opportunities in the 70s, I guess many of us would only do sports. Okay, guys? So the next candidate, I would say, who has been waiting patiently, a busy man. We know all the construction that's going around Grenada has to be done by my brethren here. I'm thankful for his time, DJ. Please take the floor and impart your knowledge. I want to learn as well because we haven't seen for donkey yet. Okay? So I want to listen and you guys taking my brethren, DJ.
Good afternoon. I feel verbally incapacitated and eloquently disadvantaged after I hear my friend Doctor and the engineer and Mr. Tim delivered before me, but I'll try. My name is Desmond John. I'm a past pupil of Grenada Best Secondary School, where I was in Form 2. Coffee, keep calling me DJ, and today, out of every 100 people that call me DJ, 3 people remember my right name, Desmond John. So I company, DJ's Bobcat and Construction Services, is now Sunrise Construction Inc. I have considered myself a businessman and a master builder, so I go by the credentials master builder stroke businessman. I started in GBSS. I know GBSS is a school that you get all sort of exposure. I was never a prime athlete, but I ran sub-junior, play a little cricket, play a little football. Did in those days wasn't economics, and we had we used to call business classes, commerce at that time. I was a part of the Waiting Society. I ran the talk shop for a few years as being secretary treasurer of the student council. And even after the student council changed, because of my efficiency in there, I ran it for quite a few years after, so a lot of people know me in the talk shop. But because I was well-rounded and we took advantage of every opportunity, George Brizan at the time was in GBS as a headmaster. It was the year that CXC came in and GC was going out. So in those years we did 6 and 8 subjects, not 14 and 18 as the students today. So we were in Form 4. We were 4S3 because we were the bad boys in 2S3. They created S3 for us. So we went from 2S3, 3S3, and then I guess when we left in Form 5, there was no more S3 again. But we had the exposure, so they tried CXC with us during GCE time. So all the subjects we choose for GCE, we did them at CXC, and the percentage was 85%. And then we did them again. The second year in Form 5, they had us in a trial, and we got them in GCE. So I left school in 1979. My father, Honor John, had a hardware haberdashery store in town. I worked with him. And while working there, it was the year of the revolution. And I used to sell for people on the airport, the Cubans and the Americans that came with a dredge. And after selling for them for a while, when they come into the business, they wanted to deal with me specifically. So I sell them different tools, everything they asked for, I write it down, we ordered it. And then I got an opportunity to work with them on the airport. When I asked the superintendent for the job, he said, man, you have a neat job, man. Wearing a short jacket and a black pants, you know, leave this work and come and work in Greece. I said, give me a try. And when I was least expected it, I got a call to report to work 6 o'clock one evening. And after working on the international airport, we were on the seaside doing the dredging to enclose Hardy Bay. From there, I went to Cartagena, Colombia, where we work on the Rio Magdalena and the Canal de Dique, 68 kilometers of dikes and walls. I worked in Nicaragua, Argentina, and then I was specialized in wetland construction. So I worked in Trinidad, and I worked a lot in Guyana, in the back dam, Pericanzo, where we were building factories and design float foundations where they could access with big pile driving machines. So my experience in construction was very diverse. And in Grenada today, we are one of the companies that have the greatest diversity in the construction arena. And we are in a situation where we are the smallest large company, but we are the biggest small company. So overhead administration caused us to be very diverse. and take advantage of every opportunity that comes across the board. So we tender the small jobs, we tender the big jobs, and then people just have a direct contact with us. We are nominated. In a lot of cases, people just wait for us. But construction is so beautiful and so great. Like, in construction, I've never worked a day in my life. I just do the things I love to do, and people pay me for doing. One of the things I used to say, and I would not say after today, after hearing Dr. Sonia Nixon, is that contractors and architects are much better and have a greater responsibility than doctors. Because if you put up a building and there is a fault, every time you pass, you see it. When the doctor makes a fault, it's either cremated or buried 6 feet up. But with her passion today, I think I will retract that. And I understand her passion, you know. But construction is so dynamic and diverse. It's taking gravel, sand, cement, steel, all these different aggregates, and all these different commodities, and putting it together to make a monolithic structure that people come in to a house, auditorium, a commercial building, a supermarket, a restaurant that you can go back and sit up into. So you have a passion, you have a great feeling, and it's so diverse that you can come in at any level and pick up your discipline. So we have programs where we take guys directly out of TAMCC, directly out of NULO, and we just give them an opportunity to float around and see what is your specialty. Some gravitate towards carpentry, some gravitate towards plumbing, some gravitate towards painting, some gravitate towards electronics, some is so diverse. There's great opportunity in construction. And besides construction and permanent buildings, there's also always repair and there's also maintenance. So when you get into construction, you're actually earning a livelihood for the rest of your life. Because you hear with permanent jobs, you hear the argument with the teachers and the who on contract and who not on contract. With a contractor, the only job you show on is a job you're doing right now. But once you finish that job satisfactorily, there is always employment. So it's left on you and your owners to do a successful job. And as a result, there is repeat clientele. People will wait for you. I remember we had a real troublesome client. Every time she called, she wanted us to do this work. But she's so troublesome that we try avoiding her. So she called, it was Independence Day. I said, Mr. John, we have some work for you to do, and we wanted to come. So I told my son, who is also a GBSS boy, as a project manager, I said, well, we can't take on this lady no more. Let's give her a date. So we say, we won't come, we look at the calendar, we won't come the 31st of October. That is the only time we have. So in the meantime, you should get somebody else. She said, just hold on, I'll call you back in a few minutes. She called back. She said, I'm discussing with the husband and the children, no problem. You could come on the 31st of October. But it's just the satisfaction that you give people. There's when I started construction 42 years ago, where the engineers is the same engineers you're looking at that went to school with us. So there was not a lot of QSs, engineers, project managers. Construction was something you did when you was not performing good at school. Or you're here, my boy going to school, and you making sense, he giving trouble, so take him to learn a trade. So we came through construction like that, with everybody just hands-on, and not paying attention to the technical part of construction, or to the business part of construction. Because in the embryonic stage, I did commerce in school, and I had a talk shop experience, and my father was a businessman. I remain a businessman, but I use construction as a conduit, right, to live a better life, to have my lifestyle that I want to do. But I went and I did everything I could do in construction to be the perfect contractor, so that I can do the perfect jobs, have the finishes and the quality, and maximize the profit. Today, I surround myself, I work less physically, but I surround myself with a lot of youths who are technologically savvy. I am 60 61 in September, and I don't hire nobody over 30 years. Nobody, yeah. And a policy has straight across the board, unless you're a check consultant or a consultant or engineer that comes in periodically on a contractual level. But all my office staff is 30 years and under, and they are doing things twice as fast as we used to do. The whole claim about youths and the trouble with youths and they're not performing, honestly, I've never experienced that. I haven't experienced it with children. I've heard stories of with neighbors' children, some of our workers' children, but not with my staff. And I think it has taught me a lot. It has brought us to another level of technology, and we advance construction in a different method. So we are seriously into scheduling, we seriously on the programs. We have Microsoft technology measure projects, and you can actually calculate on a day-to-day basis and check the profitability on a daily basis to know exactly what your outcome will be like, or where you have to make changes, or where you have to adjust. If there's not variation or additional work and you're running with the same budget and you see you're losing and you're sliding, then you do investigation. Before, what we do, we build a building, and at the end when you check it out, you lose, you bust or you win. But the person occupying the house, because they have a passion for physical work, they have a nice building. We do 2 phases on the river road. The phase that's finished, phases 3 and 4, from Steel Garage down to the back of Purser, the big walls and soda growing up there and the graveyard baskets. And it's amazing how life turns out. That is what I was doing in Colombia when I left Grenada. And that was 40 years ago. And when these opportunities came up and we did our presentation, we were the fittest and the most pre-qualified to execute that job. Because my specialization, being associated with a company that's hydraulic engineers, wetlands was our forte. So while people are seeing the river coming down, they say, y'all are crazy, you're starting a job in the rainy season. That's when we need to start it. That's what we need. We need to check the expansion and the construction of the soil. I mean, I ain't going to your territory yet. But you know, the understanding from the experience, it makes a difference. So I think that construction, I mean, is what I live. If I'm not doing that today, I don't know what else I have to do. And then there are so much areas of diversification under the same discipline that you could move from one area and maximize another area or specialize in another area. So as youth, I just want to make this delivery to open up your minds and let you see that there's an opportunity where you can do things with your hands, where you can walk by and see a beautiful project that you know that you have an input in, and by the same time making a decent livelihood. That's what I you can talk to me?
Yeah. See, I get a job for you.
DJ man, thanks a lot for that passion that you have gained. Release here, because I remember that building here. I remember the hours we spent here, the way you transform our generation of student council to make it a business. Otherwise it was just playing around. But the just curiosity of our student council that year with respect to the finances that we generated through your business was exceptional. I always quote you as an example wherever I go to talk about how youths can organize themselves. You remain, in my mind's eye, one of the examples for us here as GBSS and Grenada. So youths, again, from the knowledge that we have been having for as the AIF, the GBSS AIF, there are youths at GBSS who have decided not to continue the academic pathway and decided to move into the other areas that we would call working with your hands. And I'm thankful for the reaching out of Kalai Glean, who absorbed one of our critical youth and brought him to Nulu. There's one that I'm mentoring. He's also going to Nulu from September coming, and it shows that trade is very important in the big world, what we call the big world in diaspora. That's where most people make more money than even some of us who are academically inclined, because you are independent, you set up your own business. And I was even making a mention of one brethren, a youth man that is in Grenada County, they call him a bad boy, that kind of thing that. And right now, after he redisciplined himself, he's now in California, has his own little business that he started off in the COVID as an electrician, and he's more busy than anything else. And he didn't go GBSS, he didn't go to any of the secondary schools, because he got in contamination with the law forces in Grenada permanently, that he was seen as no good. And after talking to him and having some local experiences, whenever I was around here, this youth has gone further. So any one of you guys here, and I think you guys haven't fallen through the cracks yet, so you have heard us here this morning, take heed, reach out to us, and for those who really, as you heard what DJ said, and I'm mind that no over 30, only under 30, because of the fact that you guys are savvy. You guys play with the tools of today that I'm afraid to touch it sometimes, because I'm going to break it. The first time I learned to use a touch phone is here in what you call that, Foodland. A cashier, a young girl at the phone. I had the phone for 2 years, but not touch it yesterday. I show. She said, sir, it doesn't SL2, you know what the hell she talking. You know what the hell she talking about, and then she took it and put it on, and then I said, okay, yes, that's a nice one. And then that's how I learned to get rid of my fear, that I have 6 of them now that I keep fooling up and don't know to delete them. You know what I mean? So guys, youth, this is your chance in this era to learn all the different fields, and you can be what you want. And he looked at one, a young one from you guys, not as old as me. I could be his grandfather. He's going to come and tell you about teaching and stuff like that. Counseling. This is Jewel telling us. Please let Jewel tell us about this.
I think good afternoon. Afternoon, everyone. Well, I am Joel Sellisford. I am the youngest here in. So I'm 32 years old. Like DJ, sorry, not like DJ, I was not considered a bad boy in school or in the bad boy class. However, I was considered to be a troublemaker, very talkative, not doing the best that I could. The other time I came 6 before last, and that was very bad for my father. C was a bad for me, and that was good enough in truth. But I like sports. I was influenced by Joel Philip. Very humble guy. He didn't say how much time he won character goal. Right? But from a young age, I was involved in clubs and scouts and helping others. And that's where my mom got me in trouble in school, because I would stand up for others. That was the problem. When I reached in Form 5, you know there's called prefect name in reverse here, surname. So my surname is Telesford W.T. So I sit down up there with the boys. When they say, Joel Telesford, I say, well, around most everybody said, oh. They give me prefect, and that changed a lot of stuff for me. Right? He helped me get more serious. He helped me to be more responsible. And I think that played into the scouts and Cubs thing and helping other people. So I had also given responsibility of house captain for Baptiste House. I used to take part in sports, as I said before. I remember in Form 1 pulling the tape for Joel and Cut and others when they did the long jump and triple jump in the sandpit. First, we have to imagine. Each and every one of you have to be able to imagine, as they once did. You have to believe what you imagine. And it's only when you can imagine, then you believe in it, then you can become. So imagine fixing bicycles, led to somewhere else. Being a great writer, started with something, you have to imagine. So if when you go to the shower, you imagine yourself at Olympics, coming down and you're biting someone, you maybe share the animal, but you're not the same reaction as you can eat out. Then you're going to train to become that, but you have to believe. And this is what life is. Life is our greatest teacher. Everything is common to what is said here today. Each and every person that spoke about things and how life would have influenced them. Life is our greatest teacher. And teachers are just here to guide you, to give you the basic information. And that's what education is. Acquiring skills, knowledge, and understanding. So they talk about maths, chemistry, physics, natural sciences. So they call them. Why? When I work, there's physics in that. The food you just eat, chemistry is in that. They are not, so they exist every day. So when you hear the subject, name of the subject matters, do not be afraid. Counseling is also a part of the package. So I did a bachelor's degree in psychology at St. George's University. I wanted to be a sports psychologist. Even before that, I wanted to be an electrician. I wanted to be an agriculturist because my father was an agriculturist. But the talking part can't get away from me. So I started a consultancy business and I've been mostly doing free work. And I realized I just have a passion for speaking to the young people, encouraging them, helping them see how they can better everything that they do. I taught at the Heinz School for 1 academic year. After I finished my first degree in St. George's University, I taught at the T.A. Marshall Community College lecturing in psychology for 1 academic year as well, 2017 to 2018. And there, I realized a lot of things that we are taught is true. The learned helplessness. Learned helplessness is when you go with whatever your profession, whatever your field is, and you play lazy. And a lot of times, you can begin with the classroom, you can begin home. You just sit down and you wait. You're waiting for things to happen. That won't work. Doing the bare minimum, it won't work. So let life be your greatest teacher. You have to joke the water. Where you stay, let people laugh. But let that be a training. You have to wait on the side, you move. You do what you have to do. Build on whatever you have. Later on in life, as Joel said, you might have the goals of being a pro athlete. It may not come to fruition. However, all of the skills that are spoken about here, whether soft or hard skills, they're all integrated because this is life. So I say from the way we walk, we talk, we eat, everything is involved. Whether you call it social science, social work, psychology, it's just the science, using a basic sense, empirical data to see how one thing will lead to another. Is there such a thing as love at first sight? How important is your image? GBSS boys must have gray socks. They must have the right shoes. They must be well attire. What does that say for your image? Because if DJ say, hey, taking people, your person on that 30 to work, and then he came and your pants was down here and you're sagging around, and then that's your image. But if you sit up, he saw that you paid attention, maybe that you was taking notes, you'd say, remember, that's your image as well. He already knows now. I could put this person in somewhere in the office because they seem very diligent. They pay keen attention to what is being said. I want a person like that in my books, with stuff. So a lot that we do and we see how you represent yourself has to do with your image. And what your image says, it teaches and it tells others about you. So when you go to trade, when you hit the track, you must do your very best. So our circumstances will help us. Our third world experience will help us become even greater in the outer world. So these guys, I'm always around them. And I'm speaking to them directly today. I would like to say one thing. Give your coach a lot of respect. I believe coach needs a better job, eh? Right, sir? yeah. Coach needs something more solid where he can be able to function. I speak of the Olympians at GBSS, Joel, Kurt, Kirani, Lyndon, and Compton. Right? We have Botan, we have Gamari, we have others. We still Compton. And then these guys. I know that all of you go to GBSS. I'm taking the opportunity to stake a claim, and maybe Joel can answer or you can raise it after. When you finish secondary school, is it the best step to go to college or to go back into secondary school again? Probably based on time, age difference stuff. So I wish you'd be able to speak with some of them on that. But we have some Olympians here. Watch your faces very well. I'm not singling out anyone, but look at their faces very well. And I am. So the GBSS AIF, all as present, student athletes, your image as student athletes is very important. And lastly, teaching is what all of us do, because we just pass on information and knowledge. But if you sit there and just wait to receive it, or you just receive it and you write it down and you do nothing with it, then you're learning to be helpless. So learn helplessness is where the teacher will sit on the board, stand and you would sit and you would basically just write what's there. Every day, we almost disable ourselves or disable students by doing that. I am certain that in your era, the teachers did differently. You see, girl, look how many big stones? Because that passion is there. I'm sure you got it from a teacher who did that. The gentleman who speak about agriculture, the agricultural teachers must be able to bring them into that field. So whatever you do, you must have the passion for that. You must be able to break it down for them. So, if you want to become a teacher, I would say the best thing to do, get the highest education that you could. Don't just settle for going into TAMCC and trying to get into teaching that way. Go for your bachelor's or your master's. And even if that doesn't work, construction is one of the cheap way where you can get a skill that would pay you on that level with a short span of study. It's very, very effective. So when you would take 6 or sometimes 4 years to complete a bachelor's degree, in that time you've done many certifications. You might have a level 2 in wall and flow. You might have a next level 2 in plumbing. And you'll be well qualified to work within CARICOM. But yet again, your education is important. So learning these skills in school, very good. So don't look down people who work busy. Don't look down people who do construction. You all are one. And last thing, I know I say last thing already. All these men, since this principal, I see that they have one thing in common. They all are part of the student council. What part you was on the student council? PRO. DJ? Secretary Treasurer. Gallo? Secretary. Timmy? President. When we give students responsibility, they pull the school along so the teachers get a better time to relax. So we have to bring back those stuff, put it in place, and them to become more responsible. Put more on their plate, they're young, they can handle it. Thank you.
Explosion of what a teacher should entail as characteristics. I myself is a teacher, have been a teacher, remain a teacher. Teaching is my passion, because teaching doesn't only mean being in a classroom. Teaching means communicating with people of all different layers and strata in every different environment. And I know we have a teacher here, but even though we didn't have him, and it's because we weren't selecting, these youths are the ones who selected what they wanted to hear, who they wanted to listen to in a survey that was conducted. But knowing who you are from the far, not yet knowing you personally, I know you write stories, and this is how we should be as a people. We should write our own stories, and we should not let our stories be told by others, because that is misleading and misguiding. We start believing in dogmas and we argue stupidly without facts. But if we write our stories, like Mr. Ambrose, who I saw on Facebook, and I mistake you for another Ambrose as well, I was keenly following you from the background. And if you had the chance, before Timmy closed the end, the session as a president, as a physician, coming all the way from Texas, where our AIF has its monetary base and where we got firstly registered because of the fastness of doing business on Friday, I will give you the opportunity to say something about writing. And I know you are capable, and if you have your books here, show it to the youth of what writing is all about. And Timmy, sorry for that, you close the session.
Hello,
okay?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is David Ambrose, and as you just heard, I'm a published author here in Grenada. I actually got my start, my professional start, not in writing, but in life, writing at GBSS. Obviously, I was a student, but I taught at GBSS from 1994 to 1998. I taught Spanish and I taught mathematics. And then I went to a private school. I was there for about 10 years. And then I went to TAMCC from 2008. And that's where I am right now. So at TAMCC, I am a lecturer in communication studies. Last semester, I lectured in basic German. And I'm also the chair of the Department of Arts, Humanities, and General Studies. So if you're all going to TAMCC next year or the year after, I'll be seeing you. So with respect to writing, writing has always been something that I've always loved since my days as a student in 1B and in 2S3. I always say your S3 was the last. 2S3. But my S3 was 2S3 in what year was it 2S3? 1985. The other 2S3. We were on the back fellas. In fact, we were pissed that we were put in 2S3. So we were quiet for a whole term. So I was thinking, oh, the fellas well behaved. We were mad, we just didn't say anything. I thought this, forget about that. Let's get back to business. But I started liking writing because I love to read. And I love reading, and fellas may relate to this. You know, the Hardy Boys from back in the day, the Mangolas and the Teens, and those kind of books. So I started to write things like that. You know, Form 2, Form 3, and so on. So I always wanted to publish. In fact, when I was in college, I went to college in the US. I studied foreign languages. And somebody asked me, so what do you really want to do after you leave, after you graduate from college here? And so I thought about it. I said, publish a book. And the person was shocked. They probably thought I was going to say start family and make plenty of money and all of that. But I said, I'll publish a book. And I had a name in mind already since mid-early 90s. And I kept that in mind until I started to write, put fingers to keyboard in 2012. So I started to write this story in 2012, and I came up with this story. I came up with White Spice. So that's my first book, a novel, and the story is set in Grenada. When I thought about writing, I said I ain't gonna set no story in other places outside of Grenada. So this is a crime thriller, and Grenada don't have much crime. I'm not gonna write a story about people fishing here and there, eating some potatoes and digging up yam. So I had to be creative. I And that's where reading came into play, my own reading. And so this is a drug trafficking story. Now, back in the day, not now, that wasn't such a big thing. So when I published this book in 2015, a lot of people were shocked. They said, boy, you sure that's fiction? Yeah, that's fiction, man. Most of it from my imagination. So I gravitated towards crime and that type of genre because I love reading books of that nature. And I thought, all right, I achieved my goal. I wrote a book, that's it, forget about that. Back to business, back to life. Somebody told me, boy, you get the itch now, you go publish another one. I said, no, man, I don't have time for that. Bam, 2018, published a second one. Not as big as this, but this time I decided to talk about Carriacou. My mother is from Carriacou, so I have a lot of family in Carriacou. A lot of my cousins from Carriacou and so on, I always go there, they come here, we talk all the time. So I've been spending a lot of time in Carriacou since the 90s. When I was teaching here, spent 3 or so weeks every summer. Doing research, not officially, but just hanging out. All the time I'm doing research for this book, and I didn't know that. And I published the book in 2018. And by the way, for those of you who want to write, you don't need to shop your books or your material, your manuscripts to any publisher. A lot of us in Grenada self-publish. You still have to produce good material. The product must be good quality stuff. You get experts to lay out your manuscript and all of that. Get people to come up with good cover concepts and things like that, so that the public will be, the audience will be interested and attracted to your books. I remember I was in Carriacou one day selling in Hillsborough. I had this on a table. And a lady was walking by. She looked, hey, wait, dancers? I want that book. She didn't ask me what the book was about yet. But she saw the cover, she saw some dancers, and she wanted to buy it. Another lady was passing by and she called up the lady and they knew each other. And then she told me, guys, one of Carriacou's top big drum dancers. So that's what attracted her to the cover. So there was that relationship there between what she does and what she loves to do and the cover itself. So you could self-publish, but make sure you produce good stuff. And then the next year, so a few months later, I just messing around and came up with a short story. As Gallo said, we can tell our own, we have a lot of stories to tell. And so I came up with Zone 1. Anybody live in Grenada, sir? Yeah? What bus is it? Zone 1 bus. So the story is set in Zone 1, in Grenada. And the story is about a Christmas Eve. It's a Christmas Eve setting. So Grenadian people, in fact, all Grenadians know what traffic is like on a Christmas Eve. And so that's where the story is set. And this is a cover. I took this picture with my phone in St. George's. I didn't even know I was going to write a story about a motor officer. So the picture came in handy to come up with a short story. So you don't have to write a massive book. You could even publish a short story. But get yourselves out there with respect to publishing. And that could help you with your studies. I heard somebody say they like to talk, read, write. Is it right? Yes. You're sure if you want to become a lawyer, you could become a writer. TAMCC has a good English program, English Lit program and things like that. I'll be bad, that's my department. And this year, I decided to diversify and go into children's writing. So this is my children's book. And it's called The Kayak Tourist, but you see a picture of Grenada. So the children are tourists in Grenada. So they're kayak tourists in Grenada. So you take the children around Grenada. So it's highly educational. In fact, it's a bus tour. Mr. Luz was here. I remember going on one of his bus tours to St. Andrews. It was an agricultural science trip. We went over the hills and things. I was a major. I've never been out to St. George's, back then. I think I was in Form 4 at the time. But these children are taking a trip up the West Coast, St. Patrick's, go around, come back down and so on. And so it's one of those things that children would be, and there are images, so children could be attracted to it and so on. So I say it's a story for children, but even visitors, people who come to Grenada, could learn a bit about the island, and they could go do their own research to learn more about the country. So whatever we want to do, we could get our start right here in school, or whatever schools you go to. We focus on GBSS now. they'll start right here. It could be in English, it could be in English literature, sciences, things like that. So we need communication and reading and writing in every field, whatever the field is. I do communication studies at the college, and a lot of the people who are in the sciences, you know, they think, we just here for a pass. But we have to tell them, look, you're in IT, you're in engineering, whatever field you're in, you need communication, you need to know how to write. You have to write reports, you have to give presentations and things like that. So that's why writing is important and reading is important. One of the courses we do down there in COM is gathering and processing information. And that is very, very important with respect to research, critical thinking, understanding things, and so on. So students, the possibilities are endless. There are a lot of writers in Grenada. There are a lot of GBSS past students, past people, alumni, GBSS alums who have written, who have published. Some of you gentlemen, Jacob Ross.
Yeah.
Jacob Ross. When I was in GBSS, I didn't know about Jacob Ross. I didn't know he was already an award-winning writer, international, that is. I didn't even know that until I started teaching at MCC. I'm asking, who's Jacob Ross? Because one of my colleagues was Devonson Lamont, the late Devonson Lamont. And one day he said, Jacob coming in. Jacob, this is Jacob. And Jacob came and so on. So he was one. Nowadays, we have other GBSS men. Roger Baird, Bishop former pilot, Vietnam vet.
Dr. Spanner.
Dr. Spanner.
Somebody called his name before. Peters.
Yeah, he did one on he did a book about Cara too. One GBSS as well. But yeah, she's, in fact, when I was in primary school, she was the only Grenadian author I knew whose name I knew. I didn't know anybody else. But today, obviously, there are a lot of writers. And you don't have to be an older person like myself to publish. There are students who have published. And a lot of children publish all over the world as well. So, Grenadians publish a lot of us self-publish. So no need to think, boy, I can't publish anything. Nobody will read my work. You can get help to edit and, really craft your skills and things like that. So pay attention to your English teachers and English lit and everybody else, all the other teachers. So thank you, and all the best to you students. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much for your input here this afternoon, and I would be checking you out because Timmy has given me a title for one of the books I'm going to write. Timmy was the title, Island Boy Beyond the Iron Curtain.
That would be a good story.
So that would be a big story. Thank you, youth, for being so patient. The form that I gave you, youth, if you can just fill it out and leave it on the here, or we can have a 2 minutes where you make at least somebody represent you and just give your impression of what you heard here today. All of you can just spend the time with you. But to bring this session officially to a close with the last presenter, I guess if anybody else feel like presenting, but it's because of time and we have to go down to the sports field. So again, you can come and run and kick with us down at the playing field. Let me introduce you guys to Dr. Dylan Timothy Wakamba Daniel, medical doctor from Texas who's here in Grenada, but originally from La Poterie, Tiflis.
So let me first clear who I am, because actually my name was changed after I left GBSS. My name in GBSS, I actually didn't know my name until when I started GBSS, because in my area they always called me Timothy. And until when I was doing common entrance, then I realized my name was Dillon. And so throughout GBSS, Dillon was my name. And then when I had my first son, I wanted to name him Timothy. And I thought I needed to have the same name like him. So I actually had my name officially changed to Timothy Dillon Daniel. So that's where the Timothy is now coming in. But I first want to thank all... Wakamba was Galo. Yeah. But you know, I first want to thank all the presenters on behalf of the GBSS AIF group. We really appreciate all the presenters. Of course, we are hoping for much more students, but I actually think what we did here today is the beginning. And it's something that we can build upon and hopefully to continue to do that, because I'll tell you, I did not get the opportunity what you are getting presently. I never really thought, even when I left GBSS, I was going to be a physician. Okay, because before 1979, the only people who become physicians were island scholars. There was no other people become, I mean, it's one person here from Grenada might ever become a physician. So until the revolution, when people started going to Cuba and so on to do medicine, then I realized this was a possibility, because when I left GBSS, I went to teach in SAS and I was going to do agriculture. That's the revolution had just happened, and there were a few guys teaching with me in SAS who went to Cuba to study medicine. And so I was thinking about it. But what happened then is that there were events in my area in Tivoli and so on that I was probably kind of related to it a little bit. And one night a friend of mine come and tell me they're going to pick me up. So, you know, of course, you know, crying, thinking about your dad, how you're going to go down there. And that's when I decided I'm going to be a physician. I actually, during the night, I said, even if I went on to prison, I would study and become a physician. And that's when the first idea came to me. And so, with all what was happening around them, my brother got me up to the US, and of course went to undergrad. Of course, didn't have the green card and all the stuff to go on to medical school. So I went on to do a PhD in chemistry, which I love. And so I did a PhD, came back to Grenada, was still thinking of medical school, so that's a lot of years. I was working down here at the college, and then I still, you know, I was thinking of medical school here, and one of my friends, who was at the Evelyn Spencer, really one of the guys who motivated me and what he did. And then, of course, I went back to the US, postdoc, and long story short, got married, got my green card, and then decided, okay, here is it now. Do I go or do I don't go? And I decided to go on to medical school. And so I was fortunate, went to medical school, completed residency. I've been practicing as a physician for the last 20-something years, which I truly enjoy. I truly enjoy what I do. I did like chemistry. I worked at DuPont for a little while before I went to medical school, but I really, truly enjoy what I do. What I want to tell you guys really is that even right now, even though you may not have what you intend to do, be open, be open. Try to do all the different subjects. Do the English, you know, the Spanish, the geography, do the math, the chemistry, and so on, because you could really transition at any time. Within the US, for example, you don't have to major in like an undergrad degree in a science to get into medicine. And that's the thing. So you could do English language, or you could do history or philosophy and still go on to medical school. So even though your undergrad or your BS or BA is in arts field, you can still go on to do medicine as long as you do the basic requirements. You have to do 2 years of chemistry, a year of physics, a semester of calculus. Did I say physics, chemistry, physics, and a year of biology. That's basically all you need. So all the rest of the stuff, you could do your English, you could do geology as your major, but as long as you do those required courses and you take the MCATs and then you go on and apply to medical school. So keep an open mind. The other thing I want to reemphasize is to make sure that you connect with people. Make sure, like for example, utilize people that you know to connect with them. I just read a book, No One Succeeds Alone, and I truly believe it. that you make connections, that people you see connect with them, because you could always come back and utilize them one day to help you to get where you need to be. The coach, the different folks, get their contact information and tell them, hey, glad to meet you, and make sure you connect with them. Okay? And I don't want to keep you guys too long, but continue to study hard. As I said, keep an open mind. The world, there's a lot of opportunities for you, and you can make a lot of opportunities for yourself. Okay?
So guys, we had a great morning, turning into the afternoon. Circumstances beyond control gave us a late start, but I'm happy that at least you were able to shed light into professions that some of them are very rare and exotic for us here, but we recognize they all are important, they all are interrelated, and the basic subject matters are all the same to get wherever we want from A to B. It's the same feed. I taken a bus from Tongue to Grenada, from Tongue to St. Paul, from Tongue to Laborie, wherever, even from Hillsborough to such places. In Windward in Carriacou, I think it's $2.50 maybe, but Carriacou pays higher price for gas, I heard, so $3.50, you know what I mean? So there are different means and ways of getting to where we want to go. And thank you, youth. I can see that you are the most diligent youth in Grenada at the moment. I would anoint you with that, because you came here. I heard different stories. I heard youth can't concentrate for half an hour, so it doesn't make sense coming and do that. You have proven to those criticals totally wrong. You listened to hot stone here for the last 4 hours. Thank you very much. Boys and girls, young men and young women of tomorrow, the future of Grenada. Maurice Bishop would have said to you, he called you my kids that were born after the flowers of the revolution of 1979, March 13, and you are the ones that are blossoming today and will blossom into the future and change Grenada in this dispensation of transformation. Thank you for being here. One second. We do that. Just when we close up, we are allowed them to do that, please. Yeah. Thanks for being here. Thanks to all the presenters. Thanks for DJ, for the support that DJ is giving us here today. Is real heartfelt. Transporting our stuff down to the playing field. Mr. Duisset has laid out the chairs that will be transporting, the tables we get from here, and the drinks we have there, DJ. So I'm thankful for your support in this endeavor. And I must say, for the man on the camera, JC, thank you for bearing with us. I know you might have expected a big crowd where your camera would have a bigger scope, but I think sometimes quality is better than quantity. And thank you for your time. Thank you for your contribution. And I think I would mention it this year at the moment. JC has decided to forego the cost of this for his service as one of his contribution as a GBSS boy and old pupil. Was not people that come primary school. So thank you, JC. Thank you very much. And the program that we have for the rest of the week is simply today, this afternoon, sports at the Tantine playing field. Tomorrow, youth, are we having a shuttle tomorrow? Yeah. So maybe if the youth are interested to be at Bathway and you want to get a free ride with us, jump on the bus or whatever we're leaving, 8 o'clock we said to be here. So that if you want to enjoy with us tomorrow at Bathway, feel free to be here for 8 o'clock and get the bus ride with us to Bathway. That will be on us, no problem with that. Tomorrow evening again will be discussions like these, where one of our brethren in the diaspora has organized a forum. The call for national service is what we are doing here at the moment physically, but we want to extend that, so you'll hear more on that tomorrow evening. And then on Saturday,
it's a Zoom.
It's a Zoom call, of course. So the link we can. I don't know how you would get it, or how the youth would get it, the Zoom link. Go to our website. Our website is gbssalumni.org. Okay? gbssalumni.org. And then you get all the information like I'm sharing at the moment. And Saturday is the day where we are going to award the teachers, like Mr. Dubi said, he's of the younger generation. His award will come sometime later. We will be awarding teachers of the 70s into the early 80s, and anyone that is born thereafter or that was a teacher thereafter at GBSS, their time is coming, because this is not the only event that we'll be having. And then, of course, to close down the official, formal reunion on Sunday morning, it will be good for you young youth to get some spirituality. Come to the Anglican Church in St. George's, Church Street. Listen to the priest there, and we are just part of that service. And in the evening, again, another GBSS production in Christopher Dirks, Porter Dirks. He was part of my generation, a little bit older than us, but he has been my, in the debating society, he's the one that made me to be able to stand freely here today, because I was a very shy guy, talking on my tongue, and I would never say a word. So I understand when people are quiet. I was just like that until I set my foot on the stage here after joining the debating society and hearing eloquent brethren like DJ and these fellas talk. I said, nah, I have a lot to say. Let me open that mouth and it disappeared, the tight tongue that people say I speak on my tongue. So brethren and sisters, we would then also invite you to look at this play at 7 p.m. at the Trade Center. And this is History, Julien Fedon. I guess you guys would have heard about him in history, and we know what he did up in Monquaqua. He turned the horseshoes in a different way, and all these colonial masters, they were over the precipice because they didn't follow the right sign of what Julien Fedon did. This, and it was said, maybe somebody, historian, can correct me if I'm right or wrong. I'm not spreading propaganda. You know what I mean? So thanks everybody. Thanks for being here. It was a wonderful morning. And for just to hear from the guys, who are you? What is your name? And we close the session like that for the day, guys. Thank you very much for being present. All and each and everyone, all and son. So let us start. Let's start with this brethren. What's your name? What's your name, and what maybe have you gone from this to this? Okay, let's start. So let me start. Let me spin up on. Mini, Mainamo, catch a nigga by it. Let it go. Mini, Mainamo. Okay? We got you. What's your name? Your name, school, and send the form. Yeah. If there's anything you feel like you want to speak. Okay. My name is Skylar Alexis. I attend Grenada Boys Secondary School. I'm going to Farm 4. And I do track and field. Track and field. Nice. So we heard the youth man here. And is there anything today that impressed you from the profession you heard? Which of these that you think you would like to maybe do besides the track and field? Real estate. So you want to sell all them buildings that DJ is building around town? Nice one. Thank you very much. Next, brethren.
My name is Stuart Johnson. I attend GBSS. I'm in Form 3. Like track and field.
Wonderful. So we have some new Kiran in the making. Nice one. And you're going to Form 3 now. Wow, so you start early, so you got the message. Not brethren.
I'm to Maritime and send GBSS. I'm going to Farm 4. I like track and field, football and chess.
Football and chess, good brain work. Which part of the football field like me?
Track and
Right, government. Of course, you want to score goals and you want to make money. Why not? Okay? Great. And my next person?
My name is Cameron Martin. I attend the GBSS and I'm currently winning from Tree and I do track and field as well.
Okay, track and field. And which of the events are you strong in? The 8, the marathon, the sprint? So, 100 meters. You want to be going soon? Wonderful, man. Grenada must go that way. Thanks a lot.
So, my name is Shafana Houston. I'm 14 years old. I attend the Anglican High School. I'm currently going into Form 4. From this session, I learned from Dr. Sonia, not sure of us that you should do what you love and have fun doing. I also do track and I run the 400, 200, and 800 meters.
Great. So go for your passion, man. Thanks a lot, sister. Give a hand a round of applause, brother. More encouragement to you next time. Thanks a lot, sister. Graduate.
My name is Ronaldo Williams. I attend the Untitled Chapter. I just finished.
Okay.
And I do track.
So track and field. What make you feel that you want to do track and field? So you have it in your DNA. So that's a brethren that we have to look forward to in the near future. You're going to represent Grenada well. I know that. And sister, what's your mind? AHS. This is a sister we're looking forward to. I was a teacher there. Which one was you, Walton? But I tell you, we those and green, we all just starring. Yeah, man, that is it. This stream, I'm looking forward for you in the future. Let me hear you.
This job is well.
Can you want?
Well. Going into GBSS this year, and I was in track and field.
Track and field. So, Lee, where's the coach, Lee? Lee, man, you produce now. Why not them have fun as well? When we hit the next Olympic, all we hear is Lee! And the good for the team behind the team. GBSS forever. Boys and girls. We have another one? Yeah, that one looks like he had him. I thought that was the second coach. Okay, let me go through. Let me hear you. Pump up the volume.
My name is Shane, but I attend GBSS. I'm currently going for 4 and I am interested in psychology.
Psychology. Great. Well, we heard that, I thought there would be there's a psychologist in here who's supposed to be the best. I would definitely link you up with her so that she wasn't here this morning, so you make a one-on-one networking. And also Jewel is right there. So, brethren and sisters, the key for success networking. Go on with them. Call Mr. Lubis. We leave all our details by him. If you can't ask us today, all who presented, their credentials will be there. So you just pick the phone, write an email, and connect with us, and we'll be at your disposal from today until we sink away and Jewel and the younger generation pick up the baton and run with it, because we are in one boat together. The prize to the one who owns it at the end of the day. Thank you everyone for this time.